Luo Qingxue, S-Class Talent. Frost burst. The principal's excited scream shattered the silence of the awakening ceremony. The crowd went wild. I stood in line, watching the school's Ice Queen walk down from the stage. Everyone was whispering about how outclassed I was. 3 years ago, her family tried to humiliate me by tearing up our marriage contract. I didn't let them. I stood my ground and challenged her to a duel, set for 3 days after our awakening. Now, she had reached the top. I looked at the contract in my hand and sighed. I was a transmigrator. 3 years ago, I died from staying up too late reading novels and woke up in this world where monsters roamed and everyone awakened powers to survive. I had been waiting for my moment. As a man, I couldn't just let a girl look down on me. I needed a win. Hang in there, Chun, my friend Han Xiaoli whispered, patting my shoulder. He was a skinny little guy, but he was the only one who stuck by me. I believe you'll get something good. I just nodded, hoping he was right. I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to dominate. Suddenly, a mechanical voice rang in my head. A system notification. The slaughter system had finally bound to me. I felt a surge of adrenaline. The system told me that by killing people or monsters, I could earn points to level up. Then, it handed me a massive starter pack. I received an S-Class Dark-type ability called Shadow Monarch, a weapon named the Death Lotus, and a boost to my cultivation. I gripped my fists. S-Class. Dark-type. People usually thought dark powers were creepy or weak compared to fire or lightning, but they were wrong. Dark was mysterious. It was dangerous. It was cool. And most importantly, it was my ticket to winning that duel. Next, Su Chun from Class 6, the principal shouted. I took a deep breath and walked toward the stage. My steps felt light. I could hear Han Xiaoli shouting behind me, offering up his own luck for my success. I didn't look back. I reached the awakening stone and placed my hand on the cold surface. The air grew heavy. My homeroom teacher looked on nervously, hoping I'd at least get a B class so I wouldn't be completely destroyed by Luo Qingxue. But as soon as my palm touched the stone, the atmosphere shifted. A dangerous, suffocating aura exploded outward. The stone didn't just glow, it bled shadows. The light in the courtyard died. It was as if a giant hand had snuffed out the sun. Total darkness swallowed the school. The students gasped, stumbling back in fear. They felt like they were being watched by a god of death. The principal, Wang Donglai, turned bright red with excitement. This wasn't just an awakening, it was a phenomenon. Inside the darkness, a throne made of pure shadows materialized behind me. I didn't just stand there. I sat down on the throne, crossing my legs lazily and resting the Death Lotus in my hand. I looked out at the terrified crowd with a cold, arrogant gaze. I wasn't just a student anymore. I was a king returning from the long night. The girls in the audience were staring, their faces flushed, caught between terror and obsession. The guys were paralyzed with envy. Even Luo Qingxue looked stunned, her icy composure finally cracking. The machine on the stage beeped, confirming what everyone already felt. Su Chun, S-Class Talent. Shadow Monarch. Principal Wang Donglai lost his mind. He was so overwhelmed with joy that he grabbed my homeroom teacher and kissed her right then and there. 2 S-Class students in 1 year meant his career was set. I just sat there on my throne, looking at the girl who thought she had outrun me. The duel was in 3 days. And for the first time, I knew exactly how it was going to end. Principal Wang Donglai couldn't hide his excitement. Even though the earlier vision had prepared him, seeing the words S-Class next to my name made his heart race like a tidal wave. 2 S-Class awakeners in a single year was a miracle. It was a gold mine for his career. He was so lost in the moment that he actually grabbed Class 6 homeroom teacher and kissed her. Principal, you didn't brush your teeth, she stammered, her face turning bright red with embarrassment. Wang Donglai coughed awkwardly and let her go. He turned back to the crowd, his voice booming with pride. Su Chun, S-Class Dark Element, Shadow Monarch. The crowd exploded. A roar of voices filled the air, but the mood shifted quickly. People were whispering, and not all of it was good. I heard the murmurs drifting up from the students. S-Class Dark Element? That's going to make the duel in 3 days interesting. Don't get your hopes up, another voice countered. Dark elements are weaker than ice. They're even worse than A-class lightning or fire when it comes to raw power. Dark users are just for scouting and ambushes. They can't handle a real fight. Exactly. Look at the top experts. It's all lightning, fire, and weapon users. Plus, Su Chun is just an orphan. How can he compete with the resources of the Luo family? The duel will just be a slightly better show, that's all. Jealousy was thick in the air. They hated that I had a marriage contract with Luo Qingxue, and they hated even more that I had awakened an S-class talent. Wang Donglai stepped over and patted my shoulder. Kid, don't listen to them. S-class is S-class. It's not inferior to anything. I looked at him calmly. Principal, do you also believe my Shadow Monarch ability is weaker than fire or lightning? He hesitated, stammering for a second. Then he sighed. Well, to be honest, dark elements usually lack the explosive, destructive power of the others. But I believe in you. Come to my office later. You've earned the S-class prodigy resources. Those resources were the best the school had to offer. I just smiled. Don't worry, Principal. In 3 days, I'll prove how ridiculous it is to think dark elements are weak. They didn't understand. They had no idea what shadows were capable of. In the stories I remembered from my past life, dark users were terrifying. I remembered one phrase specifically, arise. I was going to change everyone's mind. I wasn't going to be a scout or a sneaky assassin. I was going to be a god of destruction. Good lad, Wang Donglai said, his eyes full of encouragement. I'll be waiting to see you become famous. As he spoke, a blue screen flickered into existence before my eyes. It was a status panel. It listed my name, my S-class Shadow Monarch ability, and my weapon, the Death Lotus. I noticed a small plus sign next to my ability level. Does this mean I can upgrade it? I thought. Yes, a voice rang in my head. The host can use slaughter points to upgrade. Can I reach SS class? I asked, my heart hammering. SS class was legendary in this world. Yes, it costs 100,000 slaughter points to upgrade your ability to SS class. Upgrading the Death Lotus costs 50,000. The excitement faded slightly. I only had 1,000 points. I had a long way to go. I needed to get out of the city and hunt monsters to farm points. I had to get stronger so I could crush Luo Qingxue and restore the glory of the dark element. As I turned to leave the stage, Wang Donglai grabbed my arm. Wait, Su-chun, have you noticed your trait yet? I paused. Trait. Every S-class element has a unique ability, he explained. For example, the great thunder god of our country has a trait that makes his lightning several times more destructive than normal. The strength of your element often depends on how good your trait is. I looked down at my hand, watching the black energy flicker between my fingers. What was my trait? Don't rush it, the principal said kindly. It takes time to figure out. Go on now. I walked down the steps, feeling the eyes of every girl in the school on me. I didn't realize that my moment on the Shadow Throne had completely captivated them. My friend Han Xiaoli ran up to me, grinning ear to ear. Chun, you looked so cool on that throne. My 2 centimeters of luck really paid off. I laughed and slapped his shoulder. You're a real brother, Xiaoli. Actually, he said, fluttering his eyelashes jokingly. I could be your girlfriend if I went abroad for a little surgery. Oh, brother Chun. I winced. Sure, just make sure you look like a supermodel. I don't want my brother to suffer. Before we could keep joking, a man stepped into my path. It was Luo Hai, the butler for the Luo family. Su-chun, you've done well, he said arrogantly. We've decided to cancel the duel. If you agree to marry into the Luo family, take their name, and serve them, we will provide you with cultivation resources. I looked at the ground and let out a soft, cold laugh. Is that so? Come closer and tell me more. Luo Hai snorted and stepped forward. You've always been obsessed with our young lady. Don't be ungrateful. This is your chance to be his servant husband. My eyes turned cold. I clenched my fist, and before Luo Hai could react, I swung. My knuckles connected with his jaw with a sickening thud. The force was massive. He didn't even have time to dodge before he was sent stumbling back, a sharp scream tearing through the air. A few teeth, coated in blood, flew out of his mouth and hit the pavement. Stop acting like a big shot, I spat. You think I actually care about marrying into your backstabbing family? Get lost. Luo Hai's face turned a deep, angry red. He was humiliated. You dare hit me? I hit you. So what? I didn't give him a second to breathe. I raised my leg and buried my boot into his chest. Another heavy thud followed, and Luo Hai was sent flying through the air, crashing hard onto the ground. He struggled to get up, his eyes wild with rage. Suddenly, a red light flickered across his skin. He was activating his ability. Su Chun, you've completely crossed the line. Come on then. I provoked him, stepping forward. Try me. I'm an S-rank talent. If you attack me, do you think you'll live to see tomorrow? Luo Hai froze. His hands, which had been trembling with power, suddenly went limp. He had forgotten the law. In the Dragon Kingdom, S-rank talents were protected by the state. Anyone caught attacking one was looking at a death sentence. He stuttered, his bravado vanishing like a popped balloon. He looked at me, confused. Where was the old Su Chun? The quiet, honest kid who never said a word? He couldn't handle the change. Fine, you had your chance. You're just a lonely orphan. In 3 days, I'll watch Luo Tian beat you until you're begging for mercy. Enough. A cold, crisp voice cut through the tension. Luo Hai jumped. Luo Qingxue was walking toward us, her expression icy. Apologize to him, she commanded. Miss? Why should I? Luo Hai started to argue, but he stopped abruptly. The ground around his feet was beginning to crackle with frost. He turned pale. I'm sorry. He didn't understand why his young mistress was protecting me, or why she cared so much. I looked at him with pure disgust. What an ugly face. Luo Qingxue looked at me, her eyes deep and unreadable. After our duel in 3 days, there will be nothing left between us. I couldn't ask for anything more, I replied. I took a moment to look at her. She wore a simple, athletic tracksuit that showed off her long, graceful legs. Her skin was pale, her features sharp and beautiful, the flower of number 2 high school indeed. My memories of her were a bit blurry. We had an arranged marriage, but it wasn't our choice. 18 years ago, my parents had died saving hers from a monster attack. To honor that sacrifice, our parents betrothed us. But I was introverted, and she was cold. We barely spoke. Then, 3 years ago, after my parents died in a beast tide, the Luo family turned their backs on me. They broke the engagement the moment I was vulnerable. Since then, they had risen to become one of the top families in Chuan City. They were ungrateful wolves. Luo Qingxue reached into her pocket and pulled out a storage ring. This is compensation for Luo Hai's behavior. I took it without hesitation. Did your backstabbing parents tell you to give this to me? Or is this your own idea? She remained silent for a moment, then shifted the subject. In 3 days, I hope you use your full strength. Don't hold back. I could see the disappointment in her eyes when I mentioned her parents. She felt it too. Don't worry, I said. I'm not just fighting you. I'm fighting to show your parents exactly what they threw away. She gave a small nod and walked away. Luo Hai scrambled up from the dirt and scurried after her like a beaten dog. That was smooth, Brother Chun. Han Xiaoli ran over, giving me a massive thumbs up. Stop flattering me, I laughed. Go get your awakening done. I'm heading to the principal's office. As I walked alone, I pulled up my system interface. It was time to get stronger. I was currently at the awaken level. System, level me up to first order, 1 star. Ding. Consuming 100 slaughter points to upgrade. A surge of energy rippled through my veins. In an instant, a small ball of origin energy condensed in my core. In this world, warriors were ranked from 1st to 10th order, with 10 sublevels each. Again, I whispered. System, take me to 3 star. Ding. Consuming 500 slaughter points. Leveling up. My cells felt like they were screaming with joy. It was a rush better than any drug, a pure, clean growth of power. Man, pay to win feels good, I muttered, clenching my fist. I summoned my dark element again. This time, the shadows were thicker, darker, and far more menacing. How much for 4 star? Ding. For 100 slaughter points. I hesitated. I decided to close the panel. I needed to save some points to upgrade my combat techniques later. Raw power was good, but skill won fights. I pulled out the storage ring Luo Qingxue had given me. My eyes widened as I scanned the contents. There were high-grade origin stones, precious bone-strengthening pills, and several spirit origin fruits. Those fruits alone were worth 5 million credits each. The total value was nearly 10 million. Was she trying to pay off her parents' guilt? I slipped the ring on, straightened my clothes, and made my way to the principal's office. By the time the awakening ceremony ended, Principal Wang Donglai walked in to find me lounging in his chair. "Principal, I've been waiting forever," I joked. He laughed, shaking his head. "It's your own fault. Every high school in the city is calling me, offering insane amounts of money to get you to transfer. An S-rank student is a golden ticket for any school's reputation." I leaned back, a smirk playing on my lips. "And I assume you told them no? So, you really aren't moved by fame or fortune, huh?" I said, leaning back. Principal Wang Donglai shook his head. "It's not that I didn't agree. It's just that they didn't offer enough money. If they had a little more, I might actually have to consider it." We both laughed. I was starting to like this guy. He called me the "add money brother" of the senior class. But then, his smile faded, replaced by a look of serious business. He poured me a cup of tea and placed two ancient, dark-colored books on the desk between us. "These are the school's rewards for your S-rank awakening," he explained. "Both are Tier 2 combat techniques." He pointed to the first one. "Dark Abyss Altar. It uses your dark element to create a swamp-like trap under your enemies. Once they sink in, they can't move." Then he tapped the second book. "Shadow Claw. This one lets you condense dark energy into razor-sharp claws for direct attacks. Which one do you want?" I didn't even blink. "I'll take both. The more, the better." My eyes practically glowed as I snatched them up and stuffed them into my pocket. Only a fool turns down free stuff. These Tier 2 techniques were worth over 2 million credits each on the market. In this world, techniques range from Tier 1 to Tier 9, and the price jumped exponentially with every level. The school was really bleeding cash for me. Wang Donglai watched my greedy display and chuckled. "If you ever become an official, you'll definitely be a corrupt one." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a bank card. "Here, another reward. There's 500,000 credits in there. Buy whatever you need." "Oh, Principal, you shouldn't have," I said, my voice fake modest while my hand moved with lightning speed to grab the card. It went straight into my pocket. He took a sip of his tea, shifting the subject. "Which university are you planning to apply for?" "Why ask now? Isn't the exam in 10 days?" I asked. In this world, the college entrance exam happened 10 days after awakening. It was mostly a formality. Your rank usually decided where you went, but the quick turnaround was meant to get students into training as fast as possible. "It is," he said, "but your phone is about to explode with calls. Over the next few days, recruiters from the top academies will be coming here to see you personally." I groaned. "Principal, did you give out my phone number?" "I had to," he shrugged. 2 S ranks in one city? The 5 great academies are already circling like vultures." I sighed. I wasn't interested in talking over the phone. If they wanted me, they could show up and show me their sincerity with actual offers. "Fair enough," Wang Donglai agreed. "They'll likely arrive on the day of your duel with Luo Qingxue. You should study up on them. We have Mo Wu, Jingwu, Beiwu, Guangwu, and Junwu. The first 2 are the absolute peak." I stood up and thanked him. My plan was simple. I'd go to whoever gave me the most benefits. "Go on then." The principal waved me off. "Focus on your training. Your fight with Luo Qingxue is in 3 days. Win or lose, it's good experience. Though, winning will be hard. She's a daughter of the Luo family. Her resources are the best in the city." I stopped at the door and looked back. Losing isn't an option for me. I walked out, leaving him shaking his head at my arrogance. But as I left, I felt his gaze linger. He looked stunned, rubbing his eyes like he'd seen a ghost. I realized he must have sensed my aura. I was already at Tier 1, Level 3. To him, that was impossible for someone who had just awakened an hour ago. He probably thought his senses were glitching. Once I was off campus, I found a quiet corner and pulled out the technique books. Ding. Tier 2 technique, Shadow Claw detected. Upgrade available. Ding. Tier 2 technique, Dark Abyss Altar detected. Upgrade available. System, how many points to reach entry level? I asked. I knew techniques had stages: entry, minor, major, great, and intent. 200 points per technique. Total, for 100 slaughter points. "Do it," I commanded. Instantly, knowledge flooded my brain. It felt like I had been practicing these moves for decades. The way the energy flowed, the muscle memory, the timing, it all became as natural as breathing. I smirked. This pay-to-win system was beautiful. Now, I just needed a place to test my new power. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was my uncle, Su Tian phone. "Hey kid, I heard you awakened today," he shouted over the line. "Tell me, what did you get?" I smiled. After my parents died 3 years ago, my uncle was the only family I had left. He treated me like his own son. "Uncle, I got S rank. Dark element. I didn't let you down, did I?" There was a long silence. "Don't lie to me, brat. S rank isn't that easy to get. Even if you got a D rank, I won't be disappointed. I'll always make sure you have enough to eat." My chest tightened. He really was a good man. "Uncle, I'm serious, but thank you." All right, he laughed. "I've got to go. I'm heading outside the city walls to hunt some beasts. I'll bring back some high-quality meat tonight, and we'll celebrate." My eyes lit up at the word hunting. Hunting meant kills. Kills meant slaughter points. "Uncle," I said quickly, "can I come with you?" I was itching to test my new combat techniques and that S-rank soul weapon, the death-grinding lotus. My blood was practically buzzing with anticipation. "You brat, what are you trying to pull?" My uncle, Su Tianfeng, barked over the phone. "Hunting beasts isn't a game. It's dangerous." "Uncle, I've awakened my abilities now," I countered, trying to sound as persuasive as possible. "Just let me come along to see how it's done. I promise I won't run off. I'll follow every single order." I knew I was lying. There was no way I was going to just sit back and watch. Su Tianfeng went silent for a long moment. I could hear him sighing on the other end. "Fine," he finally grumbled, his voice softening. "I'll let you tag along to open your eyes. But I'm serious. Don't you dare go wandering off." "You hear me? Crystal clear, Captain. Send me your coordinates. I'm on my way." The call clicked off. A few seconds later, a ping hit my phone. I scanned a shared bike nearby, hopped on, and pedaled toward the city gates as fast as my legs could move. Meanwhile, across the city at the Luo family estate, the atmosphere was a lot colder. "I heard you gave Su Chun some cultivation resources," Luo Dongshan said, his eyes drilling into his daughter, Luo Qingxue. "I did," she replied. Her voice was like ice. Luo Dongshan opened his mouth to argue, but then he stopped himself and shrugged. "Whatever. It's just a few resources. Consider it a final payment for the debt we owe his parents for saving our family back then. It's basically charity at this point." In his mind, no amount of resources could bridge the gap between Su Chun and the elite training Luo Qingxue received. To him, the result of their 3-year duel was already decided. Luo Qingxue felt a wave of nausea. How could he equate life-saving gratitude to a few handouts? "I'm going to my room," she said, turning away. "Wait," Luo Dongshan called out, his voice rising. "The 5 great academies just called. They're coming to Chuan City in 3 days to recruit you. It happens to be the same day as your duel with Su Chun. I expect you to perform well. Show them what you're truly capable of." He wanted the scouts to watch her crush Su Chun before they offered her a spot. It was all a calculated PR move. "I will," she said softly. Luo Dongshan sighed as he watched her walk away. "Don't blame me, daughter. Status matters. Su Chun is an orphan. He doesn't belong in our world. I'll give him more resources later to settle the score." Luo Qingxue closed her eyes, her face twisted in disgust. "Filthy," she whispered. "Call it what you want," her father shouted after her. "I just want you to have the best options. In 3 days, you're the star, and the Luo family will rise with you." Luo Qingxue didn't look back. Her mind was a mess. She didn't know if she should throw the fight or give it her all. Back at the city gates, the sun was beating down on the bustling crowds. "Hey, Tianfeng." Heading out to hunt, a man named Li Hengshan called out. He was leading a small group of his own. "What's it to you, Hengshan?" Su Tianfeng asked, stopping his team. "Why don't we team up?" Li Hengshan asked with a fake, oily smile. "Safety in numbers, right?" Su Tianfeng frowned. "No thanks. We prefer to hunt on our own. It's simpler that way." Li Hengshan's face soured instantly. "Su Tianfeng, I'm being polite calling you brother. Don't push your luck. Watch your mouth," one of my uncle's teammates snapped, stepping forward. "Oh, I'll talk however I want," Li Hengshan sneered, putting his hands on his hips. Su Tianfeng signaled his team to stand down. He believed in the principle of avoiding unnecessary conflict with idiots. Fine. Say what you want. We're moving. Hey, don't run away. Li Hongshan shouted. I lost our last bet. How about a rematch? Or are you too chicken? Su Tianfeng stopped and turned around slowly. What's the bet? Total value of beasts hunted by sunset, Li Hongshan said, pulling out a golden pill. I'll put up this top-tier bone-bracing pill. You put up that weapon I lost to you last time. Deal. My uncle's eyes lingered on the pill. He needed that for his next stage of cultivation. But he looked at his team, then at Li Hongshan's group. His guys were outmatched. The odds were terrible. I stepped up and clapped my uncle on the shoulder. Uncle, take the bet. Su Tianfeng looked surprised to see me. Xiaochen, you're here. Do it. I whispered, looking him straight in the eyes. Trust me. Su Tianfeng gritted his teeth. Fine, Li Hongshan. It's a deal. Li Hongshan looked at me with a mocking grin. Well, if it isn't little Su Chun. So, what kind of low-level ability did you awaken? Something useless. I looked him dead in the eye. Actually, I awakened the idiot sensing ability. Whoever I look at is a massive idiot. Li Hongshan blinked. That sounds, wait. Who are you calling an idiot? I didn't say a name. I'm just looking, I said, shrugging innocently. Li Hongshan turned red with rage. You little brat. You think you're funny? I'll knock those teeth out of your head. Su Tianfeng immediately stepped in front of me, his hand on his weapon. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Relax, I said, stepping out from behind my uncle. Since you're so confident, why don't we raise the stakes? If you win, I'll get on my knees and apologize. And I'll give you this. I held up my hand, showing off my storage ring. Li Hongshan's eyes nearly popped out of his head. A storage ring was worth millions. Deal. It's a deal, he shouted, his greed taking over. Don't get ahead of yourself, I sneered. What are you adding to the pot? He pulled out 2 more mid-tier bone-bracing pills. I'll match your apology and throw these in. That enough for you? I shook my head. Not even close. Li Hongshan's face turned the color of raw liver. He was fuming, but the greed in his eyes hadn't faded. He reached into his bag and pulled out a D-rank combat weapon, slamming it down. Fine. Is this enough for you? He barked. I smirked. Now we're talking. Deal. The bet was set. Li Hongshan's anger vanished, replaced by a smug, self-satisfied grin. He looked like he had already won. Yeah, I'm going to make a fortune today. Come on, boys. Let's head out and give this little brat his first lesson in how the real world works. He led his team away, laughing. To him, my uncle's team was a joke, full of the old and the weak. At a greenhorn like me who just awakened his abilities, and he thought we stood zero chance. He was already dreaming about the moment I'd have to drop to my knees and beg for his forgiveness tonight. My uncle, Su Tianfeng, looked at me with deep concern and confusion. Xiaochen, what are you thinking? That storage ring is priceless. Uncle, I told you. I whispered, keeping my voice steady. I awakened an S-rank ability. We aren't going to lose. He still looked skeptical. An S-rank. Truly. I gave him a confident nod. Would I lie to you? By sunset, you're going to watch that loudmouth kowtow to you. I couldn't stand people bullying me, but I hated people bullying my uncle even more. Su Tianfeng frowned, still half-doubting, but his voice softened with genuine care. Listen, even if we lose, your uncle is here. I'll be the one to kowtow for you, okay? Don't push yourself too hard, you brat. Uncle, stop talking like we've already lost, I said, giving him a gentle push toward the gate. We need to get moving. Hunting beasts is the priority right now. Our 5-man squad checked their gear and marched toward the city gates. Beyond those walls lay the beast-infested wilderness. Hundreds of years ago, the world had changed overnight. Plants and animals mutated into ferocious monsters. Humanity survived by building these massive walls and relying on awakened users with special powers. But reality was cruel. Most beasts could easily crush a human of the same rank. Only those with high-level abilities stood a chance at fighting above their weight class. Once the guards cleared us, we stepped out into the wilds. Su Tianfeng pulled out a map showing the nearby hunting zones. It marked safe routes and danger levels, ranging from Tier 1 to 1 to Tier 1 to 10 areas. Where should we go? One of the team members asked. The Withered Woods, Su Tianfeng said firmly. If we want to beat Li Hongshan, that's our only shot. The rewards there are higher. But isn't that too dangerous? Another teammate whispered. I heard tier 1 to 7 beasts have been spotted there. If we don't go, we lose the bet, Su Tianfeng countered. We have to risk it. The team nodded reluctantly. As we walked, Su Tianfeng glanced back and saw me rubbing my hands together, looking restless. Xiaochen, why do you look so excited? Most people are terrified their first time out here. I'm not scared, uncle. I can't wait to get my first kill. He laughed, though it sounded a bit forced. All right, I want to see this powerful ability of yours. But for now, stay behind me. Don't be impulsive. He probably figured I was just overconfident because I'd awakened a decent grade, but he didn't think I could actually fight yet. After all, I'd only been an awakened for a few hours. Sure, uncle. We'll see. I replied, hiding a grin. We reached the withered woods soon after. The place was a graveyard of yellowing grass and skeletal trees. The moment we stepped inside, we saw 4 decay rats feasting on a carcass, the sound of their crunching bones echoing through the air. Stay sharp, Su Tianfeng hissed. The team drew their weapons. Xiaochun, stay back. The rest of you, we take the rats together. I watched them move, my heart racing. System, do you have a scan function? I needed to know what I was dealing with. Ding. Detection function activated. The host can now inspect beasts and people. Perfect. I focused on the nearest rat. A blue screen flickered in my vision. Name, Decay Rat. Realm, Tier 1 to 4. Attribute, Poison. Reward, 20 slaughter points. 20 points each? If I killed 5,000 of them, I could evolve my death-grinding lotus. It sounded like a lot, but I was hungry for it. My uncle moved fast. He was Tier 1 to 5, and his teammates were Tier 1 to 4. They worked like a well-oiled machine. One teammate used a control ability to slow the rats, while another buffed my uncle's speed. A third hunter raised stone walls to trap them. Su Tianfeng lunged, his blade flashing. Asterisk slash. 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 Asterisk 3 rats died instantly. But the fourth one was smart. It dove into a hole in the ground and vanished. Watch out, my uncle screamed. The ground burst open right at my feet. The decay rat leaped out, its jagged, filth-covered claws aimed straight for my throat. It was too fast for the others to react. Xiaochen, move. Su Tianfeng roared, his face pale with horror. I didn't move. I didn't panic. I just raised my hand toward the sky. In an instant, the air turned cold. A massive, terrifying claw made of pure shadow materialized above us and slammed down like the hand of a dark god. The shadow claw slammed down with bone-crushing force, carrying a pressure that made my own heart skip a beat. It hit the decay rat dead center. Squeak! A shrill, agonizing scream cut through the air. The rat didn't stand a chance. Its body was crushed into a bloody pulp instantly, spraying crimson across the dirt. Silence fell over the clearing. The 4 veteran hunters stared at me, their eyes wide as saucers. They looked like they'd seen a ghost. He one-shot it, one of them stammered. A Tier 1 to 4 beast? And he's only at Tier 1 to 3 himself. Is this the power of an S-rank ability? This is insane. A moment ago, they thought I was a dead man. Now, I had just crushed a beast stronger than me with a single flick of my wrist. Their faces were a roller coaster of shock and disbelief. Tianfeng, one teammate, turned to my uncle, his voice trembling. Did you really say your nephew just awakened a few hours ago? Stop joking. Nobody gets this strong in a few hours. My uncle, Su Tianfeng, looked just as confused as they were. He scratched his head, muttering to himself. He looked like he was questioning his own memory. Was I really Tier 1 to 3 already? And was that massive shadow claw really a manifestation of an S-rank dark element ability? He looked at his team and threw his hands up. Don't look at me. I don't know anything. The 3 hunters turned their gaze back to me, their eyes filled with intense curiosity, like they were trying to peel back my skin to see what was inside. Ding. Slain Tier 1 to 4 decay rat. Slaughter points plus 20. The system notification rang in my head. I ignored their stares and whispered to myself, not bad. Let's keep this momentum going. That shadow claw was incredibly cool. Who said the dark element was weak? I looked up and saw them still staring at me like I was some kind of exotic animal. What? Why are you all looking at me like that? You little brat. Su Tianfeng barked, finally finding his voice. When exactly did you awaken? How are you already tier 1 to 3? He clearly didn't want to believe I'd done this in a single afternoon. In the entire history of the Dragon Kingdom, no one had ever reached tier 1 to 3 on their first day. I told you, uncle. It happened today. I awakened an S-rank dark ability. You have to believe me now, right? Su Tianfeng rubbed his chin. Awakened today, reached tier 1 to 3 in hours. He realized his nephew might actually be a once-in-a-generation genius. He stopped trying to make sense of it and just stepped forward, pulling me into a massive bear hug. You brat. It really is an S-rank ability. Of course it is, I laughed, patting his shoulder. Why else would I let you take that bet? Haha, good, good. He slammed his hand against my back, beaming with pride. But then, his expression softened, a hint of sadness creeping into his eyes. If your parents knew you'd awakened an S-rank ability, they would have been so happy. Our family finally has a true powerhouse. I didn't want the mood to get heavy. All right, uncle, let's talk about something happy. You're right, he said, wiping his eyes. When we get back, I'm taking you out for a foot massage to celebrate. I raised an eyebrow. Uncle, is this a special kind of foot massage? He clipped me on the back of the head. What are you thinking? It's a normal one. The other teammates crowded around me now, their attitudes completely flipped. Hey, Xiaochun, do you have a girlfriend? My little sister is 13. If you don't mind the wait, we could set something up. Get lost, another shouted. She's 13. You want to go to jail? Xiaochun, if you don't mind my age, let's become sworn brothers. I'll call you Big Brother from now on. They were desperate to get on my good side. An S-rank talent was a future legend. I felt a bit overwhelmed. Uncles, please, you don't have to do all this. Don't worry, when I make it big, I won't forget the men who bled with my uncle. They all laughed and nodded, satisfied. They knew when to back off. Su Tianfeng turned serious again. All right, stop scaring my nephew. He looked at me. So what's the plan? You staying with us or going solo? I'll go solo, I said firmly. I need to hunt as much as possible. He expected that. He reached into his pack and handed me 2 vials of blue liquid. Take these. They're essence recovery potions. If you run out of energy, drink one. Elemental users burn through energy fast. Think of it like your mana bar. You're basically a mage now. I took the potions. Thanks, uncle. I won't be polite. Stay safe. If you run into something you can't handle, just yell for me. Listen to this brat, giving me advice, he joked, though his eyes were full of warmth. Just take care of yourself. With a wave, I turned and vanished into the trees. Back at the group, the men were still buzzing. Old Su, you've got a hell of a nephew. I'm serious about my sister, though. Su Tianfeng just shook his head, but he couldn't hide his grin. He was bursting with pride. Meanwhile, on another part of the trail, Li Hongshan was leading his own team. One of his lackeys looked worried. Brother Hong, can we really beat Su Tianfeng's group? Li Hongshan swung his blade, decapitating a mutated cat with ease. Of course. They're a bunch of washed-up old men and a kid. It'll be a walk in the park. You're the best, Brother Hong, the lackey cheered. He then glanced at a small, heavily muffled figure trailing behind them. What about this one? Li Hongshan looked at the stranger coldly. Kid, I brought you out of the city. From here on, you're on your own. Sink or swim. The stranger gasped, eyes flashing with anger. How can you do this? I paid you. You promised to protect me while I hunted. Li Hongshan laughed mockingly. You idiot. Outside the city walls, I am the law. Say another word, and I'll leave your corpse for the wolves. The person trembled with rage. You? Beat it. People die out here every day. Be glad I even let you through the gate. The stranger glared at him, turned, and stomped off into the woods. Li Hongshan just laughed. Typical weakling. Anyway, let's get back to work. Later, I'm going to find Su Tianfeng's group. The bet didn't say I couldn't steal their kills. Deep in the withered forest, I was having much better luck. Slain tier 1 to 3 Phantom Cat. Slaughter points plus 15. Slain tier 1 to 3 Skypier Surat. Slaughter points plus 15. I had already taken down over a dozen beasts. At my current level, anything at tier 1 to 3 was easy prey. I pushed deeper into the woods, where the roars grew louder and the air grew colder. Suddenly, a long, piercing howl echoed through the trees. A wolf. I looked up at a nearby ridge. Standing there was a massive wolf with fur like gray silk and eyes like cold emeralds. Name, Gale Wolf. Realm, Tier 1 to 5. Attribute, Wind. Note, Pack Hunters. Reward, 30 slaughter points. Tier 1 to 5, huh? I licked my lips. Let's see what you've got. The wolf saw me and bared its fangs, but then it paused, sensing something, and began to back away. It wanted to run? Not a chance. That was 30 points walking away from me. My eyes locked onto my prey. I wasn't letting it go. I locked eyes with the Gale Wolf. To me, it wasn't a threat. It was a walking pile of points. I didn't hesitate. I activated my dark element, and the deep, swirling black energy rushed to my eyes like a vortex. Dark Abyss Pool. In an instant, a swamp of pure darkness manifested beneath the wolf's paws. It looked like a literal hole to hell. The Gale Wolf shivered, its instincts screaming at it to flee, but its limbs were already submerged in the thick shadow. It was stuck. Before it could even howl in terror, I raised my hand. From the sky above, a massive shadow claw condensed from dark energy and came whistling down. Boom! The ground shook. The claw slammed into the wolf with bone-crushing force. It was a perfect combo. The beast didn't even have a chance to fight back. It lay there, covered in gashes, blood soaking the dirt a dark, sickly red. To my surprise, the wolf let out a defiant roar and actually managed to scramble out of the pool, lunging at me with the last of its strength. Still got some fight in you? Good. I narrowed my eyes. The dark energy in my hands began to flicker like black flames. With a thought, I summoned it, the death-grinding lotus. The matte black metal scythe appeared in a cloud of mist. Its blade glowed with a faint, blood-red light, a color that whispered of death and the underworld. The long handle was etched with silver patterns and ancient runes, and at its center sat a dark red gemstone that looked like the eye of a reaper. I gripped the handle and felt a surge of raw, intoxicating power. This was an S-rank soul weapon. I gave it a light, experimental swing, leaving trails of black starlight in the air. The wolf leapt at me. I didn't blink. I simply stepped forward and swung. One clean arc. One dead wolf. Slain Tier 1 to 5 Gale Wolf. Slaughter points plus 30. I let out a breath and grinned. Man, this feels good. The death-grinding lotus was incredible, stylish, and devastating. Combined with my dark element, I felt invincible. But there was a catch. I could feel my energy reserves hitting rock bottom. Just 2 skills had nearly drained me dry. Then I remembered the spirit source fruits Luo Qingxue had given me. I pulled one out. It was the size of an orange and glowed with a soft, golden light. Wait, permanent energy increase. I stared at the fruit in shock. This was a treasure. I didn't waste a second and bit into it. It was sweet, fragrant, and sent a wave of warmth through my entire body. I polished off the rest of them in one go. My internal energy surged, feeling at least twice as large as before. Now I could actually stay in the fight. I tossed the wolf's corpse into my storage ring and headed toward the ridge where the howling had started. When I reached the top, I saw a chaotic scene below. About a dozen Gale Wolves, all Tier 1 to 3 or 1 to 4, were relentlessly attacking a golden protective shield. Inside the shield was a small, bundled-up figure. So that first wolf had been calling for backup. Wolves really are the ultimate pack hunters. I hesitated for a second. Should I save them? Then I saw the number of wolves, and a wicked smile crossed my face. A dozen wolves meant hundreds of slaughter points. Saving the person was just a side quest. The points were the main event. I gripped the death-grinding lotus, holding it behind my back with one hand like a descending reaper, and walked slowly down the slope. Inside the shield, Shi Yaoyao was drowning in despair. She regretted everything. She should have listened to her father and stayed home until she was stronger. Curiosity really did kill the cat. Just as she was about to give up, she saw me. A figure in black, hood up, carrying a massive scythe, walking toward her with terrifying calmness. "Oh no," she whimpered. "It's over. Even the Grim Reaper is here to collect me." She squinted, using a sensory skill to check my level. Her confusion only grew. The good news? I was human. The bad news? I was only Tier 1 to 3. Against a pack like this, I was walking to my death. "Hey, run," she screamed, her voice high and frantic. "Don't come over here. Get away." I paused, confused. Where was that high-pitched, bubble pop voice even coming from? The wolves heard her too. They turned as one, their eyes glowing with greed. To them, I was just a fresh buffet delivery. The lead wolf howled, and two of them lunged at me like arrows. I didn't flinch. I raised my left hand, and a shadow claw crashed down from the sky, pinning one wolf to the dirt and crushing the life out of it instantly. With my right hand, I swung the death-grinding lotus. A flash of black light followed, and the second wolf was sliced clean in half. Blood sprayed across the grass, and my face, making me look like a monster. Slain Tier 1 to 3 Gale Wolf. Slaughter points plus 15. Slain Tier 1 to 4 Gale Wolf. Slaughter points plus 20. My points, I muttered, letting out a low, dark laugh. I stopped defending and went on the offensive. I dove into the pack, the scythe becoming a blur of black steel. Every swing brought a scream. Every shadow claw brought a kill. Within minutes, the dozen wolves were reduced to just 2 survivors. The greed in their eyes was gone, replaced by pure, unadulterated terror. They realized too late that they weren't the hunters anymore. They turned to bolt. Trying to leave? I slammed my hand into the ground. 2 dark abyss pools opened up right under their feet, dragging them down. You growled at me first. You don't get to walk away. I leaped forward and finished them with 2 quick slashes. Slain Tier 1 to 4 Gale Wolf. Slaughter points plus 20x2. Jackpot. Between these and my earlier kills, I had already racked up 480 slaughter points. This was exactly what I needed. I didn't let the loot go to waste. Those wolf parts were worth a decent amount of silver, and I needed every cent I could get. I swept the carcasses into my storage ring and turned to leave. Xiaoyao was still standing there, eyes wide with shock. She looked completely lost. A moment ago, she was screaming at me to run for my life. Now, I had turned the entire pack into red mist all by myself. She probably thought I was death incarnate. I started walking away, but she called out in a weirdly high, bubbly voice. I stopped dead. If you use that voice again, I'll crack your skull open, I threatened. She immediately switched to a squeaky, boyish tone. It sounded ridiculous. Wait, you can't just save someone and walk away. I looked her over. She was wrapped in so many layers of fabric, she looked like a mummy. You're not a beauty, so don't tell me you're going to offer yourself to me. I joked. You look like a psycho. She snapped back, saying she could give me money instead. I didn't hesitate. I asked for a small goal, 100 million. She nearly choked. Forget it, I said, waving her off. I've got beasts to kill. Don't waste my time. Wait, she shouted, rushing to block my path. I can't give you that much cash, but I can give you a dark element cultivation technique. That stopped me. My eyes lit up. Specialized cultivation manuals were rare and expensive. I was still using a basic manual provided by the school. If I could get my hands on a real dark technique, my power would skyrocket. For real? I asked. I swear. Once we get back to the city, it's yours, she said confidently. I wasn't born yesterday. I couldn't even see her face through all those rags. She pulled out a phone and suggested we add each other on WeChat first. Then, she handed over a storage ring. Inside were high-grade bone-bracing pills and a stack of spirit stones. I took the loot and scanned her QR code. A profile picture of a soft, cute girl popped up. I looked at the bundled-up weirdo in front of me and frowned. Are you one of those scammers who uses fake photos to trick lonely guys? I asked. She turned red, or I assumed she did, and started swinging her tiny fists at me in a rage. I just laughed. I had no time for her drama. I gripped my scythe and prepared to head deeper into the forest, but she jumped in front of me again. You're not leaving, she yelled. Get out of my way, or I'll cut you down too, I growled. Then do it, she challenged, standing her ground. Before I could respond, a familiar, greasy laugh echoed through the trees. It was Li Hongshan. He walked toward us with a fake smile, his eyes full of malice. He had heard the howling and came to investigate, only to find me, the loser from my uncle's team, standing with the idiot he had kicked out of his own group earlier. Well, if it isn't the 2 failures, he sneered. Hand over that storage ring, kid. Do it now, or I'll break both your legs. He was arrogant. He thought he'd found the easiest target in the forest. Shi Yaoyao leaned in and whispered, begging me to run. She told me he was a tier 1 to 6, way above my level. I'm going to crack his skull, I muttered. But he's tier 1 to 6, she hissed. Trust me, I said. She bit her lip and made a decision. Fine. If you kill him, I'll give you a tier 3 dark skill on top of the manual. I raised an eyebrow. You really hate this guy, don't you? He took my money to protect me and then ditched me the second we left the city, she said, her voice shaking with anger. He's trash. Say no more, I said, patting my chest. I'll handle the trash. Li Hongshan was doubling over with laughter. He couldn't believe two newbies were standing there discussing his death. Are you two done? I'm right here. You think you can kill me? I'm tier 1 to 6. I ignored his laughing and pulled up my system. I had 480 points saved up. System, level me up, I commanded. 400 slaughter points consumed. Leveling up to tier 1 to 4. A surge of cold energy flooded my veins. I felt my muscles tighten and my senses sharpen. Li Hongshan didn't notice a thing. He lunged at me, his long sword gleaming. I didn't move until he was inches away. I slammed my hand into the dirt. A dark abyss pool erupted under his feet. Black mist coiled around his legs like iron chains, pinning him to the spot. His laughter died instantly. What? Why can't I move? Because this is where you die, I said. I lunged forward, swinging the death-grinding lotus with everything I had. Li Hongshan panicked and raised his tier 1 longsword to block. Crack! His sword shattered like cheap glass. My scythe didn't even slow down. It sliced clean through his arm and buried itself in his shoulder. He fell to his knees, clutching the bloody stump of his arm, screaming in absolute agony. I pressed the blade of the scythe against his throat. He looked up at me, his eyes bulging with terror. Ow! How are you so strong? He wheezed. You're tier 1 to 4? You just awakened. It's impossible. He finally realized he had messed with the wrong person. He started begging, crying about how killing a fellow human was against the law. He thought the rules would save him. I leaned in close, my voice a cold whisper. The law protects people, Li Hongshan. But you're just a beast. I swung the scythe. His head hit the dirt before his body did. Slain tier 1 to 6 beast. Slaughter points plus 60. I stared at the screen. The system gave me more points for killing him than for killing the wolves. It was official. The world saw him as a monster, and my system was rewarding me for taking out the trash. I didn't feel guilty. In fact, I felt a strange, dark rush of excitement. Shi Yaoyao was staring at me again, but this time, the fear was gone. Her eyes were full of pure worship. What kind of ability is that? She stammered. It's so powerful. I wiped a splash of blood off my cheek and shrugged. It's just an S-rank dark ability, I said, acting like it was no big deal. Nothing special. She looked like she was about to faint. To her, S-rank was a myth. To me, it was just the beginning. I acted like my power was no big deal, but Shi Yaoyao was still staring at me like I was a monster. Then she frowned, sensing something was off. Wait, she stammered. Weren't you just at tier 1 to 3? And didn't you say you just awakened today? I shrugged. Yeah, so. She looked like her entire world was collapsing. Her father had told her that anyone who could reach tier 1 to 1 on their first day was a genius. Reaching tier 1 to 2 made you a once-in-a-decade prodigy. But me? I was standing there at tier 1 to 3. She closed her eyes, focusing her senses on me again to make sure she hadn't made a mistake. Her eyes snapped open, wider than before. I wasn't at tier 1 to 3 anymore. In the blink of an eye, while we were standing there, I had jumped to tier 1 to 4. How are you so ridiculous? She cried out, her voice full of frustration. I awakened today too, and I'm only tier 1 to 1. You're going to make me die of envy. Just luck, I said dismissively. I ignored her and knelt by Li Hongshan's headless body. It was time to collect my winnings. I rummaged through his pockets until my fingers hit something hard and round. I pulled out a golden pill that shimmered in the fading light. A top-grade bone-bracing pill. My heart skipped a beat. In the markets of Chuan City, you could find low or mid-grade pills easily, but top-grade? Those were almost extinct. A high-grade version alone went for 30,000 credits, but a top-grade one was priceless. It didn't just speed up bone tempering. It did it with perfect efficiency. In this world, Tier 1 is the bone tempering stage. You use energy and pills to harden your skeleton. Most experts in the country have managed 9 rounds of tempering. But legends spoke of a 10th round, the perfect bone. They called it golden bone because the skeleton would literally glow like solid gold. With my system, I wasn't settling for 9 rounds. I wanted that gold. I kept searching and found 2 more of those pills, along with an Earth-rank combat dagger. Adding it all up, I was holding nearly 1,000,000 credits worth of loot. People weren't kidding when they said the fastest way to get rich was through blood and fire. Hey, Shi Yaoyao called out from behind me. What's your name? Su Chun. What? You're the Su Chun? She looked surprised. The one everyone is talking about because of the Luo family drama? That's me, I said. And you? She gave me a mysterious smile. I'm not telling. Not unless you come find me tomorrow. Forget it, I said, turning away. I don't have time for games. I need to hunt. If you don't show up, you can kiss that dark-type cultivation manual and those Tier 3 skill books goodbye, she countered, crossing her arms. I paused and shot her a look. Fine. Time and place. Tomorrow morning, before 10. Meet me at the City Lord's manor. I raised an eyebrow. You're that rich? Are you the City Lord's daughter or something? No, she blurted out, her face turning red as she tried to hide her identity. I just live near there. Anyway, I'm coming with you. She followed me like a lost puppy as I finished my hunt. By evening, we reached the city gates. My uncle, Su Tianfeng, was already there, looking defeated. His group had run into a Tier 1 to 7 Gale Wolf King and spent the whole day running for their lives. Li Meng, one of Li Hongshan's lackeys, was already there with his team. He saw my uncle and started laughing. Su Tianfeng, let's see the haul. How many beasts did you actually manage to catch? My uncle sighed and emptied his bag. For rotting rats and a few blood-sucking crows. The total value was barely 140,000 credits. Ha ha, pathetic, Li Meng shouted, drawing a crowd. Look at this garbage. Now, look at real hunters. His team dumped 15 carcasses on the ground, worth at least 200,000. Face it, Su Tianfeng. You're old and useless, Li Meng sneered. Our boss isn't even back yet, and we've already crushed you. When Li Hongshan gets here, he's going to grind you into the dirt. Don't get ahead of yourself, my uncle snapped. Su Chen isn't back yet. You're counting on a kid who awakened this morning? Li Meng laughed so hard he nearly doubled over. Stop dreaming. Just get on your knees and start apologizing. Who's the one dreaming? I asked, walking calmly toward the group. Li Meng looked at me and smirked. Oh, the kid survived. I'm surprised you didn't piss your pants and hide in a bush. Where's your apology? I came back to watch you kneel, I said. Li Meng roared with laughter, turning to his friends. Did you hear this brat? He thinks. Before he could finish, I flipped my storage ring. Thud, thud, thud. A mountain of carcasses slammed into the dirt. Dozens of them. Some were Tier 1 to 5 beasts that most veteran hunters wouldn't dare touch alone. The pile was so high it blocked the view of the gate. The laughter died instantly. Li Meng's face went pale. My uncle stood there, mouth agape, staring at me like he didn't recognize his own nephew. Go on, I said coldly. Keep laughing. This is a lie. Li Meng screamed, his voice cracking. You bought these. You're a Tier 1 to 1 rookie. There's no way you killed these. I didn't feel like arguing. I summoned the death-grinding lotus. The black scythe appeared in my hand with a hum of dark energy, and I pressed the cold blade against Li Meng's throat. Say it again, I whispered. Li Meng broke into a cold sweat, his knees shaking. You can't kill me. When Brother Hongshan gets here, he'll... You mean this guy? I reached into my bag and tossed Li Hongshan's severed head onto the ground. It rolled to a stop at Li Meng's feet, eyes still wide with the terror he felt before I ended him. The silence that followed was deafening. The color drained from Li Meng's face instantly. His feet felt like they were nailed to the pavement. He couldn't move. His brother was dead. The man he had relied on for everything had been slaughtered like a common animal. Fear hit him like a tidal wave, drowning his arrogance in a single breath. His eyes darted around, searching for any way to survive. Then, he made a choice. He swung his foot and kicked Li Hongshan's severed head away like a piece of trash. Su Chun, don't talk nonsense, he yelled, his voice trembling. Li Hongshan isn't my brother. I cut ties with that loser a long time ago. I watched him, unimpressed. He was fast. If he couldn't get revenge, he would choose to serve. Li Ming dropped to his knees, a greasy, pleading smile plastered on his face. "Greetings, big brother," he shouted. He turned to his stunned lackeys. "What are you waiting for? Greet big brother Su." The two men behind him didn't hesitate. They hit the dirt with a heavy thud. "Big brother. Lord Su. Father Su. I don't have any unfilial sons like you," I snapped. "Apologize." They acted like they had been granted a royal pardon. They scrambled over to my uncle, Su Tianfeng, and began banging their heads against the ground. "Grandpa Su, we were wrong. We shouldn't have mocked you." My uncle stood there, completely stunned. I told them to leave their valuables and get lost. I warned them that they were free to try and take revenge later if they felt brave. They didn't wait around. They dropped their pills and weapons and ran as fast as their legs could carry them. They weren't stupid. Attacking an S-rank talent was a crime that would get their entire families wiped out. "Xiao Chun," my uncle said, his voice full of pride. "You really made your uncle look good today." I smiled. "This is just the beginning. The good days are still ahead of us." His expression shifted to one of worry. "But you killed Li Hongshan. Is that going to be a problem?" "He attacked me first," I explained calmly. "In this country, attacking an S-rank talent is a capital offense. I just carried out the sentence a little early." That seemed to put his mind at ease. We headed toward the city gates. It was time to part ways with the others. Shi Yao, the person I had saved, hopped toward the entrance with a playful wave. "See you tomorrow morning, my savior," she called out. I watched her go, a flicker of doubt crossing my mind. There was something feminine about the way she moved. I shook my head and dismissed the thought. It didn't matter who they were. After dinner, I headed to the trade union building. It was a massive skyscraper that dominated the skyline of Chuan City. This was the place to buy and sell anything: weapons, beast carcasses, or medicine. I went straight to the third floor. The receptionist gave me a professional smile. "How can I help you?" "Do you buy beast carcasses?" I asked. "Of course," she said. "Zhubao Pavilion offers the fairest prices. Just take them out, and I'll give you an estimate." "I have quite a few," I said. "Do you have a storage area? If I pile them up here, they'll block the hallway." She looked at me with a hint of hidden contempt. I was young, and in her mind, a kid like me might kill a few beasts a day at most. She thought I was bragging. "Manager, someone is here to sell a large amount of beasts," she called out, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Manager Li Yanfeng walked out, her high heels clicking against the floor. She swayed her hips as she approached, looking me up and down. She was clearly disappointed to see a fresh face instead of a regular veteran hunter. "You're the one with so many beasts you need a storage room?" she asked. "Little brother, lying isn't a good habit." I didn't feel like arguing. I tossed my storage ring onto the counter. "See for yourself. Tell me how much they're worth." Li Yanfeng peered into the ring. Her smug expression froze. Her eyes widened. Inside the ring lay dozens of high-tier beast carcasses. Suddenly, her attitude did a complete 180. She hurriedly poured me a cup of tea, her face glowing with a fawning smile. "Honored guest, please, let's sit and talk. Are you selling all of these at once?" The receptionist stood in the corner, looking like a total fool. I took a sip of the tea. "All of them. Give me a price." "Well," Li Yanfeng started, calculating quickly. "The rotting rats are common, but these gale wolves are valuable. For everything, I can give you 850,000. How does that sound?" It was a fair market price. I nodded. "Fine. Take the beasts and give me back my ring." "Wait, honored guest," she said, leaning in. "I assume you have a powerful team behind you. We would love to establish a long-term partnership." "I don't have a team. I hunted these alone. Now pay me. I'm in a hurry." Li Yanfeng let out a soft laugh, though her eyes were still full of shock. "Guest, it's impossible for one person to kill this many beasts in a day, especially this tier 1 to 6 beast. Boasting too much isn't good for your reputation." I looked her in the eye. "And what if I'm not boasting?" "If you aren't lying," she challenged, "I'll round that 850,000 up to an even 2 million. I didn't say a word. I summoned the death-grinding lotus. The black scythe appeared in my hand, and I pressed the cold, dark blade against her throat. The room filled with the heavy scent of death. Li Yanfeng's face went white. She swallowed hard, her body trembling. "Now," I whispered, "do you still think I can't kill a tier 1 to 6 beast?" I believe you. I believe you, she stammered. She felt like she was staring into the eyes of a god of death. I pulled the blade back. Transfer the money. 2 million. She moved faster than I'd ever seen a manager move. She transferred the funds to a bank card and handed it over with shaking hands. The password is 6 zeros. There is 2 million inside. I took the card and stood up. Where is the alchemy hall? 3rd floor, just down the hall, she squeaked. As I walked away, Li Yanfeng stared at my back. Something clicked in her mind. She realized who I was. Su Chun, the new S-rank genius everyone was talking about. But the report said I had just awakened today. How was I already at Tier 1 to 4? How was I hunting Tier 1 to 6 monsters alone? Manager, who was that? An employee asked. He's a dragon, Li Yanfeng whispered, her voice full of regret. She wished she had been more respectful. She wished she had worn something more revealing to catch my eye. She had just watched a legend walk out the door, and she had almost lost her head trying to insult him. I didn't care about her regrets. I had 2 million in my pocket and a lot of shopping to do. I looked at my bank balance and sighed. The principal had given me 500,000 Blue Star coins, and my parents had left me a $2 million inheritance after they passed away. Combined with the money I just squeezed out of Li Yanfeng, I had nearly 5 million. It was a strange feeling. Right now, I had nothing left but money. I followed the signs to the alchemy hall. The air here was thick with the faint, bittersweet scent of medicinal herbs. Rows of pills sat in crystal bottles, glowing under the lights. I didn't browse for long. I bought 15 high-grade bone-bracing pills, which wiped out 3 million coins in an instant. Next, I headed to the cultivation rooms. I walked up to the front desk where a young woman looked up with a practiced smile. Hello, I said politely. I'd like to open a training room. Of course, she replied, her eyes scanning me. What is your current realm? I need to select the appropriate room for your level. Tier 1, level 4, I told her. She thought for a moment. I recommend an F classroom. It increases the efficiency of your energy cultivation by 10% and features simulations for beasts from Tier 1 to Tier 1 to 5. It costs 100,000 coins per hour. Can I get a level 1 room instead? I asked. She blinked, surprised. A level 1 room? That's 200,000 an hour. Honestly, it won't be very useful for someone at your level. The F class is much better suited for. Level 1. 3 hours, I interrupted. My tone left no room for argument. I needed to hurry my bone tempering process, and I wanted to test myself against Tier 1 to 6 virtual beasts. An F class room wouldn't cut it. Fine, she said, sounding a bit helpless. Cash or card? Card. I handed it over. She processed the payment with newfound respect and handed back a key card. Turn left up ahead, she directed. I took the card and headed inside. As the door slid shut behind me, I felt like I'd stepped into the future. The room was packed with precision instruments and glowing sensors. Welcome, honored user. I am your AI assistant, Xiaoyi. Please state your requirements, a sweet, synthesized voice announced. The sudden sound made me jump. Man, technology in this world was something else. Simulate a Tier 1 to 5 Thunder Beast, I commanded. Generating, please wait. 2.5 seconds later, ripples appeared in the air. A massive armored giant scorpion materialized. It was the size of a small car, its obsidian shell gleaming with a cold, metallic luster. It looked indestructible. Convenient, I muttered. I didn't hesitate. My hands flew into a series of seals. The dark abyss altar formed instantly beneath the scorpion's feet, pinning it to the ground. From the ceiling of the virtual space, a massive shadow claw manifested and slammed down with a deafening howl of wind. The Tier 1 to 5 beast stood no chance. Under the barrage, its shell cracked, and it slumped over, barely clinging to life. I nodded. My S-rank abilities and minor attainment skills were enough to crush anything within my own tier. I wondered how terrifying I'd be once I hit SS rank or reached Grandmaster Mastery with these techniques. Next, Tier 1 to 6, I said. A new scorpion appeared. I hit it with the same combo, but this time, the beast barely looked scratched. Its defense was on another level. My eyes cold, I summoned the death-grinding lotus. Cut, I warred. I swung the black scythe in a wide arc. There was a sickening crunch as the blade sheared through the impenetrable shell, leaving a massive, gaping wound. I felt a surge of pride. The death-grinding lotus was my ultimate trump card. Only those who awakened A-rank abilities or higher had a chance to manifest a natal soul weapon. In the history of the Dragon Kingdom, they were incredibly rare. A soul weapon didn't just add to your strength, it multiplied it. It could crush any standard combat weapon of the same level. The scorpion tried to snap its pincers at me. I didn't give it a second chance. I danced around it, the scythe a blur of black light. In less than a minute, the beast shattered into digital fragments. That felt good. I shouted to the empty room. I decided against trying a tier 1 to 7 beast. I could probably hurt it, but it would be a long, tedious grind, and I wasn't here to play games. My only disappointment was that I still hadn't figured out the specific trait of my S-rank ability. But I pushed that thought aside. It would reveal itself when the time was right. I sat cross-legged on the floor and pulled out my pills. It was time for bone tempering. I swallowed the first pill and began circulating my basic energy cultivation technique. I felt the medicinal power explode in my gut. In an instant, it felt like a pair of invisible giant hands had grabbed my skeleton and started snapping and reshaping it. Asterisk crack. Snap. Asterisk. My muscles pulsed and tightened. Cold sweat poured down my face from the stabbing pain. I gritted my teeth, refusing to make a sound. An hour passed. My body gave a violent shudder. The first round of bone tempering was complete. It seemed fast, but without that top-tier pill and the 3 high-grade ones I used to finish the job, this would have taken days. Most people in the country never made it past the 3rd round. System, open status, I whispered. A screen floated in my mind. Name, Su Chun. Age, 18. Realm, Tier 1, Level 4. Soul Weapon, S-Rank Death, Grinding Lotus. Skills, Dark Abyss Altar, Level 2. Entry, Shadow Claw, Level 2, Entry. Bone Tempering, Round 1. Slaughter Points, 500. I looked at those 500 points, earned from Li Hongshan and the beasts I killed earlier. I noticed a small plus sign next to the bone tempering section. System, can I use points for this? Points can be used for tempering, the system replied. No side effects. 200 points will advance you to the 2nd round. Action speaks louder than words. Are you kidding me? I cursed under my breath. Why didn't you say that earlier? If I could just click a button to reach the 10th round and achieve the perfect skeleton, my path would be legendary. System, add points to bone tempering. 2nd round. 200 points consumed. Success. The pain hit me again, but 10 times worse. It felt like my entire skeleton was being pulverized into dust and forged into steel. When the agony finally faded, I felt a new level of density in my frame. I felt unbreakable. I had 300 points left. My gaze shifted to my 2 combat skills. Should I upgrade the Shadow Claw or the Dark Abyss Altar first? I tapped the screen, making my choice. I poured my remaining 300 points into Shadow Claw. In a fight, offense is the best defense, and I needed to hit hard. The moment the points vanished, a flood of muscle memory rushed through me. It felt like I had practiced the move tens of thousands of times. I flicked my wrist, testing the skill. The range was wider, the power sharper. I closed the system panel, satisfied. I pulled out the high-grade spirit stone Luo Qingxue had given me. It looked like a piece of dark crystal, humming with pure energy. To grow stronger, an awakened needs to circulate their cultivation technique and pull energy from the world into their body. I could use the system to skip the grind, but I was out of points. Hunting at night was too risky right now, so I decided on a simple routine. Hunt during the day, cultivate at night. Once I reached Tier 2, the blood condensation realm, I'd gain night vision. Then, I could hunt 24/7 and leave everyone my age in the dust. I sat cross-legged and began to breathe, pulling the invisible threads of energy into my meridians. Meanwhile, inside the city lord's mansion, Shi Yuanshan was pacing nervously. He looked at his daughter, Shi Yaoyao, with a face full of worry. He asked her why she kept running off, but she just pouted. She was furious that he was forcing her into a public marriage selection the next day. Her father sighed, explaining it was a family tradition from her mother's side, and that she just had to go through the motions. Shi Yaoyao wasn't having it. She told him she already had someone she liked, and would marry him in 2 days just to spite her father. Shi Yuanshan nearly jumped out of his skin. He demanded to know who the boy was. Shi Yaoyao teased him, refusing to talk unless he gave her resources. She demanded a shadow cultivation method and a Tier 3 dark breath combat technique he'd found in a hidden realm. Her father winced at the price, but he eventually caved. He didn't have a use for the shadow manual anyway. Shi Yaoyao smiled, victory in her eyes, and skipped away. Her father watched her go, wondering what kind of pig was about to steal his precious cabbage. By 10 that night, the moonlight was draped over the streets of Chuan City. I finished my cultivation session and headed home, stopping to buy a meat burger on the way. Food is life, after all. I lived in an old, clean apartment complex, the only thing my parents had left me. I walked inside, ready to shower and crash, when my phone started blowing up with notifications. It was the person I had saved earlier. Her username was Cute Bunny. She sent a string of annoying messages, telling me to wake up and use the bathroom, then joking about the time. I rolled my eyes. Was this girl crazy? I finally replied, and she messaged back instantly. She sent a few photos. My jaw dropped. One was a Tier 3 combat technique called Silent Ambush. Another was the shadow cultivation method. There were even high-grade bone-bracing pills. I swallowed hard. Saving her had been the best investment of my life. She called me out for being a gold digger when I acted excited, and we traded a few jokes. She told me to meet her at the gate of the city lord's mansion the next morning. I agreed immediately. For those kinds of rewards, I'd go anywhere. We said our goodnights, and I went to sleep with a smile on my face. It had been a productive day. I had millions in the bank, my cultivation was rising, and my bones were getting stronger. The next morning, the sun was bright. As I walked toward the city lord's mansion, I noticed the streets were packed. Everyone was heading in the same direction, looking excited. I pulled a passing guy aside and asked what was going on. He looked at me like I was an idiot. He told me the city lord's daughter, Shi Yaoyao, was holding a silk ball toss to choose a husband. He was hoping to get lucky and become the city lord's son-in-law. A silk ball toss? I stared at him. That sounded like something out of an ancient history book. I finished my breakfast pancake and followed the crowd, curious to see the show. I knew the name Shi Yuanshan. He was one of the strongest men in the city, a Tier 6 powerhouse. As for his daughter, I'd only ever heard rumors. I had no idea I was about to walk straight into the middle of her plan. I had no idea what the city lord's daughter actually looked like. In the back of my mind, I suspected she might be a total bridge troll. Why else would she resort to a primitive silk ball toss to find a husband? But there was another theory rattling around in my head. I strongly suspected that the girl I saved yesterday was Shi Yaoyao herself. She was wealthy, generous, and had mentioned the city lord's mansion. The signs were all there. I shrugged it off. It didn't matter if she was a beauty or a beast. I wasn't here for a wife. I was here for that Tier 3 combat technique. That was the real prize. I squeezed through the crowds toward the front. I needed those slaughter points, and I needed powerful skills to earn them. If I had to snatch a silk ball to get what I wanted, so be it. The area in front of the mansion was a sea of people. The air was thick with excitement and nervous energy. My God, even the young master of the Li family is here, someone shouted. He's a genius with a B-rank ability. The Jiang family's son is here too, another voice added. All the big shots are gathered. We don't stand a chance. The hopeful commoners around me started to look defeated. I ignored them and kept moving. Near the front, I saw Shi Yuanshan, the city lord, greeting a young man with a confident, polished smile. That was Li Tian. Uncle Shi, Li Tian said, bowing politely. I'm just here to try my luck and see if I can form a bond with your daughter. Shi Yuanshan gave him a polite nod. How is your cultivation coming along? Li Tian straightened his back, his chest swelling with pride. I'm currently at Tier 1, Level 1. I'm preparing to break through to Level 2 as we speak. A Level 2 breakthrough in just 2 days? That was impressive for most people. Shi Yuanshan offered a few polite words of praise, and Li Tian ate it up, acting like he'd already won the girl. He didn't realize the city lord was just being diplomatic. As soon as Shi Yuanshan could, he made an excuse and hurried back inside the mansion. Up on the balcony, the atmosphere was a bit more personal. Shi Yaoyao's mother, Li Yulan, was fussing over her daughter. Yaoyao, tell me what you want in a husband, her mother whispered. I'll help you pick the right one. Just throw the ball to someone suitable. Mom, can't I decide for myself? Yao Yao groaned. We've already publicized this event, her mother insisted. I just want you to have a good home. Don't be stubborn. Yao Yao huffed and crossed her arms. Don't bother. I already have someone I like. Her mother didn't believe her for a second. She turned to Shi Yuanshan as he walked back in. Is she serious? Does she really have someone? Shi Yuanshan shook his head. I'm not sure. But she said the person who catches the ball today will be the one she likes. He looked curious. He wanted to see which young man had managed to catch his daughter's eye. Li Yulan sighed. If she had known her daughter was already interested in someone, she wouldn't have made such a massive spectacle of this. Yao Yao didn't wait for them. She grabbed the silk ball and marched out onto the balcony. She looked down at the massive crowd and blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected half the city to show up just to watch her pick a husband. The moment she appeared, the crowd went wild. The rumors were true. She was stunning. She wasn't a bridge troll at all. She was a beautiful, petite girl with twin ponytails and a face as fresh as a morning flower. I'm not a lolicon, I swear, someone in the crowd shouted. But she's gorgeous. Yao Yao didn't care about the compliments. Her eyes were darting through the crowd, searching desperately. She looked left and right, her expression shifting from hope to disappointment. Was I not coming? Was I really going to stand her up? Miss Shi, what are we waiting for? Li Tian called out from below, trying to look suave. Throw the ball. Yao Yao didn't even give him a glance. But then, her eyes locked onto a figure pushing through the back of the crowd. It was me. Her face instantly lit up with a brilliant smile. At least you have a conscience, she muttered to herself. Then she corrected her thought. No, he's probably just here for that combat technique. Greedy jerk. Down below, Li Tian saw her smile and thought it was for him. He smirked, feeling like the most charming man in the world. He had no idea she thought he was a clown. I finally made it to the front and looked up. My jaw dropped slightly. She wasn't just cute. She was the girl from the forest. Seeing her in the sunlight, with her white cartoon t-shirt and denim shorts, she looked vibrant and full of life. She noticed me staring and stuck her tongue out, making a playful face. That confirmed it. This was the girl I'd saved. I realized then that I might have a preference for girls like her. Or maybe I just liked all beautiful women. Either way, I wasn't complaining. Shi Yuanshan and his wife stepped forward to the edge of the balcony. The city lord raised his hands, and the crowd fell silent. Welcome, everyone, he boomed. Today, my daughter will throw the silk ball to choose her suitor. Whoever catches it will have the chance to get to know her. However, there are rules. You must have awakened your ability this year, and you must be 18 years old. Background and power level do not matter, but if you don't meet those two criteria, please step aside. A wave of groans went through the crowd. Hundreds of men slumped their shoulders and began to filter out, their dreams crushed by the age limit. The field was clearing. The real competition was about to begin. I tightened my grip and focused. That silk ball was mine. The crowd filtered out as the disqualified men left with their heads hung low. The age limit had crushed hundreds of dreams in an instant. Only a few dozen of us remained in the clearing, scattered across the plaza. City Lord Shi Yuanshan turned to his daughter. My dear, you can begin now, he said, expecting her to toss the ball immediately. Shi Yao shook her head. Not yet, she muttered. She pulled out her phone and stepped back into the shadows of the balcony. Her father looked confused. He was dying to know which pig was about to steal his precious cabbage, but he had no choice but to turn back to the restless crowd and ask for patience. Down in the plaza, my phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw a message from her. You better catch that silk ball. I am not going on a blind date with some random guy. A wicked grin spread across my face. I decided to tease her. I usually just go with the flow, I typed back. Unless, of course, you beg me. I could almost imagine her biting her lip in frustration. She was the daughter of the city lord, and I was making her beg. Fine. Please. Just do it, she replied. If you succeed, I'll grant you one request. That was a deal I couldn't refuse. Deal? I sent back. I knew her game. She didn't actually want to marry me yet. She just wanted a fake relationship to get her parents off her back. She wanted her freedom, and honestly, I didn't mind being her shield. Shi Yao stepped back to the edge of the balcony and tucked her phone away. I'm throwing it now, she called out. 3, 2, 1. She launched the silk ball straight toward me. It arched through the air in a beautiful curve. Every eye in the plaza followed it. The crowd held its breath. Shi Yuanshan and his wife leaned forward, desperate to see who their daughter had picked. The young men around me went wild. They jumped into the air, arms outstretched, screaming that the ball was theirs. Li Tian let out a cold, arrogant laugh. A bunch of losers, he hissed. He activated his ability, turning into a streak of black lightning as he shot upward. His fingers were inches from the ball. He even had time to sneer at the people below. Only the strong deserve this. He spoke too soon. A shadow blurred past him before he could even blink. Before anyone realized what had happened, I had already snatched the ball out of the air. I landed solidly on the ground, the colorful silk ball gripped firmly in my hand. A faint, sweet scent from the fabric drifted to my nose. We were all newly awakened, but my level was far beyond theirs. My strength and speed made the jump look like child's play. The plaza went silent. Everyone stared at me. "Who is that?" someone whispered. "He actually beat Li Tian? He looks familiar. Wait, that's Su Chun, the guy with the arranged marriage to the Luo family." The whispers turned into a roar of gossip. If he's already engaged to Luo Qingxue, why is he stealing our chance here? Li Tian's face turned a sickly shade of purple. He landed and stomped toward me. "Su Chun, you already have the Luo family. Give that ball to me, or don't blame me for being ruthless." I tossed the ball up and caught it casually, my eyes locking onto his. "And if I say no? Then you're asking for it." Li Tian growled, his eyes turning murderous. But before he could even take a step, a shadow loomed over him. The crowd gasped. A massive, pitch-black claw materialized in the air, pulsing with terrifying energy. "What the hell is that?" someone screamed. Li Tian looked up just in time to see the shadow claw slamming down on him like a falling mountain. A massive explosion of dust and debris filled the air. When it cleared, Li Tian was face down in a deep crater, unconscious. I held the silk ball high above my head, my voice ringing out across the plaza. "Anyone else want to try and take it?" The men who had been ready to fight me scrambled backward. Their faces were pale with terror. Li Tian was the best among them, and I had deleted him in a single move. Up on the balcony, Shi Yuanshan's eyes nearly popped out of his head. A second-tier combat technique? Shadow Claw? And he's already reached small success mastery. He couldn't believe it. It had only been 2 days since the awakening. Even S-rank geniuses usually took months to master a second-tier technique. I had done it in 48 hours. The crowd started getting ugly again. So what if he's strong? He's still a jerk for cheating on his fiance. He's not good enough for the city lord's daughter. I listened to them talk about how my parents had supposedly forced the Luo family into an engagement. It was sickening. My parents had saved the Luo's lives, and now these people were twisting the truth. I was about to shut them up myself when a white blur flashed from the balcony. "Su Chun, catch me." Shi Yaoyao had jumped straight off the railing. My heart leaped into my throat. I dropped the ball and lunged forward, catching her in a perfect bridal carry. She was soft and light, and for a second, I just stood there, stunned. "Humph, have you felt enough yet?" she whispered. I cleared my throat, a bit embarrassed. "Not quite," I joked. She glared at me, but didn't look angry. She wiggled out of my arms and turned toward the crowd, her eyes sharp as daggers. "What are you losers whining about?" she barked. "Su Chun is an S-rank genius. He's at a level you won't reach in a lifetime. You say he's not good enough for Luo Qingxue? In my eyes, the entire Luo family isn't fit to wash his feet." She took a deep breath and looked at me, then back at the crowd. "And for the record, I think we're a perfect match. So stay out of our business." Before I could react, she stood on her tiptoes and pressed a soft kiss against my cheek. The fire in my gut vanished instantly, replaced by a warm, fuzzy feeling. This girl was actually pretty great. The haters went dead silent. They hung their heads, unable to say a word. I was an S-rank powerhouse with the most beautiful girl in the city literally kissing me in public. My life was looking up. Shi Yaoyao's face was bright red now. She looked at me shyly, her bravado fading into bashfulness. "Humph, aren't you going to thank me?" Shi Yaoyao's face was bright red. It was clear her bold move had been a heat-of-the-moment decision. "Thank you, Miss Shi," I said, softening my voice. "I owe you one." She shook her head quickly. "It's nothing. If you hadn't saved me yesterday, the beasts would have picked my bones clean by now. I'm the one who should be thanking you. When a benefactor is in trouble, I have to step up. I looked at her, and a strange emotion welled up in my chest. I couldn't help but let out a bitter smile. The contrast was staggering. I had saved Shi Yao Yao, and she was willing to stand by my side and face public ridicule just to help me. Yet, my parents had saved the Luo family years ago, and in return, those people had twisted the truth and bitten the hand that fed them. Saving you was definitely worth it, I said quietly. Of course it was, Shi Yao Yao chirped, her playful smile returning. Saving me was the best investment you ever made. Hey Yao Yao, you two can catch up later. Shi Yuanshan interrupted us, looking a bit sour. It was the look of a father watching his precious daughter get stolen away right under his nose. Shi Yao Yao made a cute face at him, but finally quieted down. Her father turned his attention to the crowd. Everyone, the selection ends here, he announced. I've arranged a luncheon at the Sunshine Hotel nearby. Please head over there if you wish. Let's clear the area in an orderly fashion. The crowd's disappointment vanished instantly. The Sunshine Hotel was a 5-star luxury spot. A free meal there was worth the trip, and it was a perfect chance to snap some photos for social media. As the crowd turned to leave, I raised my voice, the sound cutting through the air like a blade. Wait! Everyone froze and looked back at me, confused. In 2 days, I will duel the Luo family, I declared, my voice steady and cold. The truth will come out then. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who isn't good enough for who. It's not me who's unworthy. It's the Luo family who isn't fit for me. The courtyard went dead silent. The sheer pressure radiating off me seemed to choke the air out of their lungs. For a moment, no one dared to speak. Shi Yao Yao leaned in, whispering, "Are you really that confident?" Confidence. I glanced at her. I'm looking for a total massacre. By the time the duel arrived, I planned to use my system to reach at least the 5th level of the First Order. Luo Qingxue wouldn't even be in the same league. I wasn't just planning to slap her face. I was going to crush the dignity of her ungrateful parents. You've got a big mouth, Shi Yao Yao said, her eyes shining with trust. But I believe you. She had every reason to. She had already reached the 4th level herself, and her Shadow Claw technique had hit the minor achievement stage in record time. In her eyes, I was even more of a monster. Yao Yao, bring Su Chun inside the city lord's mansion, Shi Yuanshan commanded. We need to talk. You heard him, Shi Yao Yao said, smiling at me. Let's go, Xiao Qinzi. I played along, bowing slightly. Lead the way, Your Highness. She giggled, and we walked into the mansion side by side. Meanwhile, at the Luo estate, Luo Dongshan was listening to a report from one of his men. His eyebrows shot up in surprise. So, Su Chun went to the city lord's recruitment event? And he made a public declaration. Yes, master, the servant replied, sweating slightly. And he defeated Li Tian from the Li family with a single strike. He used a 2nd-tier Shadow Claw at the minor achievement stage. Sir, do you think the duel in 2 days might be? What? Luo Dongshan stood up abruptly. Minor achievement? It's only been 2 days since he awakened. How could he possibly practice that fast? What about his cultivation level? We don't have exact details, sir. He likely spent all his time focusing on technique rather than leveling up. Luo Dongshan frowned. It sounded plausible, but a minor achievement in 2 days was still insane. A cold, ruthless light flickered in his eyes. Go to my vault, he ordered. Get the A-rank soul weapon, the Frost Twin Swords. Give them to Qingxue for the duel. The butler hesitated. Master, won't people talk if she uses an A-rank weapon against him? Who cares? Luo Dongshan snapped. If Su Qin had one, he'd use it too. But he doesn't. Background is a form of strength. It's his own fault he's an orphan with nothing but a hunter for an uncle. I won't take any chances. With an A-rank weapon, my daughter will be unstoppable. You're right, sir. If he doesn't have one, that's his problem. One more thing, Luo Dongshan added as the butler turned to leave. Make sure Su Qin's uncle is there to watch. Su Qin claims we aren't good enough for him. Let's see how he feels when he loses in front of his only living relative. I want to see his spirit break. Back at the city lord's mansion, Shi Yuanshan and his wife, Li Yulan, sat in the main hall, staring intensely at us. The silence was heavy. Dad, you called us here. What is it? Shi Yao Yao finally asked, breaking the tension. You tell me, her father said sternly. What exactly is your relationship with Su Chen? We're dating, she said bluntly. I blinked, my jaw nearly dropping. Since when? I looked at her, but she was frantically winking at me, her eyes screaming for me to play along. I caught on quickly. She was using me as a shield to get her parents off her back about marriage. Su Chen, is what she's saying true? Shi Yuanshan asked, his eyes searching mine. Yes, I lied, stepping up to help her out. We are currently in a relationship. Shi Yuanshan looked at us with deep suspicion. He clearly didn't buy it, but since his daughter had claimed it so boldly, he couldn't push further. Fine. Then tell me, Su Chen, what's the story with your engagement to the Luo family? It's complicated, I replied. If you have time in 2 days, come to the second high school. You'll see the truth for yourself. Shi Yuanshan nodded slowly. It seemed the rumors about Su Chen being a useless delinquent were far from the truth. So, Su Chen, Li Yulan asked, her voice kinder. How is your cultivation coming along? First order, 4th level, I answered. Since they were asking, I saw no reason to hide it. I wanted them to know exactly who they were dealing with. I had spent a lot of effort killing demonic beasts to earn those stat points. Why should I hide my progress? Li Yulan smiled and nodded gently. Not bad. You've already reached the first order, 4th level. But a second later, the reality of what I said hit her. She bolted upright, her eyes wide. What? You're already at the 4th level? Shi Yuanshan practically jumped out of his seat too. What? Level 4 already? I rubbed my nose, a faint smile playing on my lips. Is there a problem with that? The two of them exchanged a look of pure shock. I could tell what they were thinking. They thought I'd been playing the weakling this whole time, hiding my true strength like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Was there a problem? If they had reached level 4 only a day after awakening their abilities back when they were 18, they would have been the absolute kings of their class. Usually, only those with A-rank abilities or higher reach level 4 by the time of the college entrance exams. Even the elite geniuses usually topped out at level 5. Shi Yuanshan cleared his throat, still trying to process the news. It had been barely a day since I awakened my ability. This cultivation speed was insane. Even the pampered geniuses raised by the old monsters in the capital couldn't compare to this. A thought struck him. If I kept this up, I might actually hit the second order before the exams in 9 days. He shook his head immediately, dismissing the idea. Leveling up got harder the higher you went. It was just luck, I said dismissively. Pure luck. Oh, little Chun, you're so hardworking, Li Yulan said, her eyes beaming with admiration. Not like our Yao Yao. She hates practicing. You'll have to look out for her in the future. She looked at me like I was the perfect son-in-law. I had an S-rank ability, I was handsome, and my cultivation speed was legendary. Even if she suspected our relationship was a fake, she didn't seem to care. She looked ready to make it real herself. Her intense gaze made me feel a bit awkward. If they knew I also possessed a life spirit weapon, they'd probably lose their minds. I will, Auntie Yulan, I promised. Why call me Auntie? She teased, pretending to be offended. Call me mother-in-law, or at least Auntie Lee. Right, Auntie Lee. I corrected quickly with a polite smile. Good boy, you stay and chat. Don't you dare leave before lunch. I'm cooking for you personally. Beside her, Shi Yao looked completely stunned. I could see the panic in her eyes. Her mother was taking this boyfriend thing way too seriously. Shi Yuanshan shook his head at his wife's enthusiasm and then looked at me. Little Chun, do you mind if I have a private word with Yao Yao? Of course, City Lord. Take your time. I stood up to give them space. Wait, Su Chun, Shi Yao called out. She tossed a storage ring toward me. I caught it and checked the contents. My heart skipped a beat. Inside was a grade 3 skill book called Abyssal Bat Strike, a manual for shadow ability cultivation, and several high-quality bone-bracing pills. Thanks, I said, my eyes brightening. Don't mention it. I promised you these, she said with a smile before turning to her father. Okay, Dad, what do you want to talk about? You tell me, Shi Yuanshan said, his face hardening. How did you two actually meet? I went outside the city yesterday to play and got surrounded by a wolf pack, she admitted honestly. He saved me. What? You went outside the city alone? Shi Yuanshan's face went pale with worry. The city is boring. I wanted to see the world. You can't go alone. Those beasts are vicious. My silly daughter. Thank God you're okay. He let out a long sigh of relief. His opinion of me shot up even higher. Not only was I a genius, but I was also his daughter's savior. I'm fine, see? Shi Yuanshan glared at her, then softened. Su Chen seems like a good kid. If you actually feel something for him, maybe you should make this fake relationship real. Yao Yao's face turned bright red. Dad, what are you saying? I don't want to date anyone. He sighed and shook his head. Fine, fine. I won't force you. Meanwhile, I stepped outside and looked at the grade 3 skill book in my hand. I used my systems appraisal skill. Abyssal Bat Strike condenses dark elements into countless bats to swarm the enemy. Then I checked the manual. Shadow Cultivation Method, exclusive to Shadow-type users. Greatly increases energy absorption speed. Allows the user to merge with their shadow, or, more importantly, separate their shadow to cultivate independently and feed that power back to the main body. My breath hitched. This was incredible. If my shadow could cultivate on its own while I was out hunting beasts for slaughter points, no one would ever be able to catch up to me. System, learn Abyssal Bat Strike and the Shadow Cultivation Method, I whispered in my mind. Asterisk ding. Learning successful. Asterisk. Instantly, the knowledge flooded my brain. I understood exactly how to split and condense my shadow. I knew the theory behind the bat strike, though I'd need practice to master it. All I needed now were more slaughter points to boost my power. My goal was clear. I was going to become as devastating as a destruction mage and as versatile as a summoner. Su Chun, lunch is ready. Shi Yaoyao's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. I headed back inside. The table was covered in nearly 10 different dishes, all smelling incredible. Little Chun, I didn't know what you liked, so I just made a few things, Li Yulan said expectantly. I picked up a piece of braised pork. It was tender and melted in my mouth. This is amazing, Auntie Li. The best way to compliment a cook is to eat. Li Yulan beamed as I dug in. I'm glad you like it. Yao Yao always complains about my cooking. She shot her daughter a playful glare. Maybe she's just spoiled because she eats your delicious food every day, I said, trying to help Yao Yao out. Li Yulan laughed, delighted. You have such a sweet tongue. Eat more. I reached for another dish, but Li Yulan nudged her daughter. Yao Yao, don't just eat for yourself. Put some food on Su Chen's plate. Yao Yao pouted, but she did as she was told. Shi Yao Yao looked like she wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. I could practically see the gears turning in her head. Her mother was treating me like a future son-in-law, and it was clear she didn't know how to handle it. Despite her reluctance, she pouted and dropped a piece of meat onto my plate, her expression sour. I felt a bit awkward myself. I hadn't expected things to escalate this quickly, so I just gave her a wry smile and accepted the food. So, Su Chun, Shi Yuanshan said, breaking the tension. Which academy are you planning to join? I didn't have a specific preference yet. Whichever one offers the best rewards, I replied simply. Shi Yuanshan nodded. That makes sense. Once you decide, let us know. I'm thinking of having Yao Yao go to the same school as you. I knew what he was doing. If Yao Yao actually liked me, maybe something would develop between us. But more importantly, he knew his daughter's personality. The elite academies were melting pots of talent and trouble. If I was there to look after her, he could sleep better at night. Of course, I promised politely. I'll let you know as soon as I decide. Then, I decided to pivot to something more productive. By the way, Uncle Shi, are there any scheduled executions for criminals or captured beasts coming up? I needed slaughter points. If I could get them by executing criminals, why not? It was a win-win. Shi Yuanshan frowned, looking at me with confusion. Why are you asking about that all of a sudden? I kept a straight face. I've realized I have a bit of a fear of killing. I figured if I practiced on some death row inmates, I could overcome the psychological barrier. Beside me, Shi Yaoyao's eyes went wide. I could almost hear her internal monologue screaming. Fear of killing? She had seen me take down Li Heng and his men with a smile on my face. There wasn't a drop of fear in my body that day. Shi Yuanshan thought about it for a moment. Actually, we have a few rogue beasts caught in the city and some members of the Blood Beast cult. They're scheduled for execution the day after tomorrow. If you want to use them to steady your nerves, I can arrange it. That would be perfect, I said, my heart racing. But what exactly is this Blood Beast cult? I'd heard the name, but I didn't know the details. Shi Yuanshan's eyes filled with immediate hatred. They're a group of lunatics, he spat. People who were unhappy with their low-level awakenings or couldn't handle the pressure of life. They joined the cult, and their high priest used secret rituals to inject them with beast blood. It allows them to transform into half-human, half-beast hybrids. It boosts their strength and physical stats significantly, but they use that power to cause chaos. They're like rats hiding in the shadows. As he explained, I felt my understanding of this high magic world deepening. I'd been here for 3 years, but there was still so much I didn't know. A curious thought popped into my head. If I killed a hybrid in their beast form, would the system give me double slaughter points? One for the human, one for the beast? I was already looking forward to the day after tomorrow. Thank you for explaining, Uncle Shi. He waved it off. Don't mention it. But remember, Su Chun, no matter how much power you gain, keep justice in your heart. I understand. I have my own moral compass. Shi Yuanshan laughed loudly, slapping my shoulder. Good. Come find me at 8 o'clock the day after tomorrow. I'll take you to the execution grounds and let you handle them all. I was beaming inside. Those weren't just criminals. Those were piles of free slaughter points. Lunch ended shortly after. I stood up and bowed. Uncle Shi, Auntie Li, I have some things to attend to. I'll take my leave now. Get home safely, Chun, Li Yulan said warmly. Come back and visit us soon. With cooking this good, you couldn't keep me away, I joked. Work hard on your cultivation, Shi Yuanshan added, patting my shoulder again. I'm expecting great things from you. As I turned to leave, Li Yulan nudged her daughter. Yao Yao, go see him out. She lowered her head and followed me outside. Once we were away from her parents, she looked at me with an embarrassed expression. I'm sorry. I didn't think my parents would act like that. It's fine, I said, smiling. I actually enjoyed it. She looked confused. What do you mean by that? I gave her a mysterious look. Nothing special. It's just been a long time since I felt that kind of warmth. They're good people. Compared to the Luo family, being at your house today was actually comfortable. Yao Yao's face turned bright red. She started fidgeting, her voice getting quieter. Wait, what do you mean? Do you actually like me? I told you, this was just an act. I'm not looking to date anyone right now, so don't go catching feelings. Relax, I interrupted, teasing her. I said I liked your parents. I didn't say I liked you. It was the truth. She was a friend, but I wasn't head over heels. Her face went from red to purple with indignation. Before she could explode, I took off running. Bye, Miss Shi, I shouted over my shoulder. Next time I see you, I'm going to punch you, she screamed, shaking her fist. Then she stopped, realizing I was already way stronger than her. She sighed to herself, muttering about how she needed to train more, maybe 2 or even 3 extra minutes a day. I didn't go home. It was only noon, and I had a whole afternoon to kill. I headed straight for the city gates. Su Chen, one of the guards called out, blocking my path. Look, we know you awakened an S-rank talent, but it's only been 2 days. You should stay home and practice. The beasts outside are dangerous. He's right, the other guard chimed in. You're the pride of Chuan City now. If something happens to you, it's a massive loss for everyone. I appreciated their concern, but I had work to do. I'm just going out to see the scenery, I lied smoothly. I'll be back before you know it. They looked at each other, clearly skeptical. Are you sure about this? I'm really just going to look at the scenery. I promised the guards one last time. There won't be any danger. They didn't look convinced. They told me to come back immediately if things got hairy, their faces full of worry. I gave them a quick thumbs up and walked through the gates. Once I was out of sight, I pulled out the map I'd bought earlier. I needed a challenge. I set my sights on Fallen Leaf Forest. Every beast, there was at least level 1, rank 4. It was dangerous, but I knew the risks. The bigger the storm, the more expensive the fish. I needed those slaughter points, and I needed them fast. I moved through the brush, my feet barely touching the ground. I didn't realize that less than half an hour after I left, 2 men in black robes slipped out of the city gates behind me. Are you sure Su Chen left the city? One of them asked, his voice cold and sharp. I'm certain, Lord Huang Yuan. The other replied, bowing low. I saw him with my own eyes. Huang Yuan narrowed his eyes and let out a cruel laugh. He was a rank 7, and he was bitter. He couldn't stand that someone like me had awakened an S-rank talent. To him, Geniuses like me were just obstacles that needed to be removed. He and his partner, Zukuin, were convinced I was still a rank 2 weakling. They thought catching me would be easy work, a way to claim a reward and get rid of a favored brat at the same time. They started tracking me, fueled by pure jealousy. I reached the forest and got to work immediately. A level 1, rank 4 shadow cat crossed my path. I took it down in seconds. The system chimed in my head, 20 points. A moment later, a gale dog lunged from the shadows. I cut it down before it could even bark. Another 25 points. Suddenly, a new notification flashed in my mind. I had reached a total of 1,000 slaughter points. The system announced a special reward had been placed in my inventory. I ducked behind a tree and opened my system space. Inside sat a massive, deep black egg. It was 3 times the size of an ostrich egg and pulsed with a mysterious energy. I ran a quick scan. The description said it would hatch in 10 days, and the creature inside would recognize me as its master. My heart started racing. Would it be a dragon? A phoenix? The idea of riding a legendary beast into battle made my blood pump. But I couldn't get distracted. I needed to get stronger. I checked my current points. I had 500 saved up. System, get me to rank 5, I whispered. I expected it to cost all 500, but the system only took 375. It turned out my own training had already gotten me 25% of the way there, so the system gave me a discount. I felt the power surge through my limbs. I was officially a rank 5 cultivator. I decided it was time for a real test. I remembered seeing a rock crocodile near a nearby stream earlier. Back then, I wasn't strong enough to take it on, but things were different now. I found it lounging by the water, looking like a jagged pile of boulders. I scanned it. Level 1, rank 7. It was 2 ranks higher than me, with skin as thick as armor. Killing it was worth 80 points. I felt a grin spread across my face. I raised my hand, and a massive shadow claw materialized in the air, slamming down onto the beast with a deafening crash. The rock armor shattered instantly. Blood sprayed across the riverbank. The crocodile let out a guttural roar, its eyes turning a hateful shade of red. It looked at me with pure contempt, confused that a rank 5 human would dare to attack it. It lunged, its massive jaws snapping at the air. "Kneel," I growled. I activated the Dark Abyss altar. Black chains erupted from the ground, wrapping around the crocodile's thick legs and pinning it down. The beast thrashed wildly, its muscles bulging against the magical restraints. With a final, desperate burst of strength, it shattered the chains and charged at me again. I wasn't worried. I was actually impressed. Its defense and power were top tier, which made it the perfect target. I reached out and summoned the death-grinding lotus into my hand. It was time to end this. I didn't hesitate. As the rock crocodile lunged with its massive jaws wide open, I swung the death-grinding lotus with everything I had. A sickening squelch followed. Blood erupted like a fountain. My blade sliced through its lower jaw, splitting the bone and flesh clean in two. I stared the beast down, my eyes full of provocation. "Is that all you've got?" I challenged. The crocodile backed away, hissing in agony. It slammed its front limbs into the ground, and sharp stone pillars erupted from the earth, surrounding me like a cage. The beast's eyes gleamed with a cruel light. It wanted to tear me into a bloody pulp. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. From the shadows, a new threat emerged, an envoy from the blood beast cult. He let out a roar, charging like a black hurricane. He expected to see fear on my face, but I just looked at him with cold, dead eyes. It was like I was staring at a corpse. The envoy flinched for a second, then roared again, raising a massive palm to crush me. I didn't blink. "You think these rocks can hold me?" I muttered. I swung the death-grinding lotus in a wide arc. The heavy stone pillars shattered into dust instantly under the weight of my weapon. Before the crocodile could react, I swung again. The lotus traced a strange, lethal curve through the air, snapping the beast's front claw in half. The crocodile shrieked, its massive body collapsing as it lost its balance. The ground trembled. I felt no pity. I raised the lotus high above my head. "Die." I plunged the weapon deep into its heart and pulled. With a burst of strength, I literally ripped the massive creature in half. Blood sprayed across the lotus, making the black petals look even more terrifying. A notification flashed in my mind. Asterisk host killed a rank 7, level 1 rock crocodile. 80 slaughter points added. Asterisk. I took a breath and wiped the sweat from my brow. I tossed the carcass into my storage ring, feeling satisfied. A rank 7 beast wasn't so tough after all. Up close, my lotus was a death scythe. From a distance, my shadow claw and dark abyss altar were a perfect combo. I downed a mana recovery potion and sat down to meditate. I needed to get my energy back. High up in a nearby tree, a man named Zhu Kuan scratched his head. Why is this kid hunting in such a dangerous area? He's got a death wish. Next to him, Huang Yuan's eyes flickered with jealousy. Maybe he's lost. Look at him just sitting there. I don't know how a moron like that awakened an S-rank talent. The fire of envy burned hot in his chest. Don't worry. I'm going to go down there and slap him around myself. Huang Yuan activated his ability. A pale green light swirled around him, gale speed. He gripped his daggers and moved through the trees like a ghost, closing in on my position. I was still sitting with my eyes closed, but I heard it, the faint, rhythmic rustle of leaves. My eyes snapped open, cold and sharp. In a heartbeat, the death-grinding lotus appeared in my hand. Clang. Sparks flew as Huang Yuan's dagger slammed into my weapon. You actually reacted? Huang Yuan gasped. He couldn't believe my reflexes. I frowned, looking at this stranger. I hadn't provoked anyone. Why was he attacking me out of nowhere? I activated my system's scan. Name, Huang Yuan. Faction, Blood Beast Cult Elite. Ability, Gale Speed, Earth Grade. Realm, Rank 7, Level 1. Special, fused with Gale Wolf Blood. Half-beast form increases speed significantly. Reward, 120 slaughter points. My eyes narrowed. So he was one of those animals from the Blood Beast cult. And for 120 points? He was already a dead man. Su Chun, Huang Yuan sneered. I'll give you two choices. Kneel and beg before you die, or just die now. I raised an eyebrow. Me die? I'd like to see you try. I gripped the lotus and lunged. Huang Yuan tried to block with his dagger, but there was a sharp crack. His blade shattered into pieces. Impossible, he screamed, jumping back. My Earth-grade weapon broke. What kind of rank is your weapon? He looked at me again, his pupils shrinking. Wait, you're only rank 5? How are you this strong? Your weapon was trash, I said coldly. Did you really think it could stand up to mine? I flicked my wrist, and the dark abyss altar activated. Black chains rose from the shadows, pinning Huang Yuan to the spot. He struggled, but he was stuck in a dark void. I walked toward him slowly, my footsteps heavy with killing intent. Zhu Kuan, don't just stand there. Huang Yuan screamed. Zhu Kuan burst from the brush, swinging a massive broadsword at my back. His body was wrapped in a red, bloody aura. He'd already activated his ability. I was ready. I blocked the sword with the lotus, the impact ringing through the clearing. Before Zhu Kuan could pull back, I summoned the shadow claw from the sky. It slammed down like a falling mountain. Zhu Kuan didn't even have time to scream. He was crushed into the dirt, a bloody mess, before he could even trigger his beast form. Zhu Kuan, Huang Yuan yelled, his voice full of rage and despair. How dare you kill him? What right do you have? His body began to transform. Fur sprouted on his arms, his hands turned into jagged claws, and a wolf tail whipped behind him. He was entering his half-beast state. What? I'm supposed to just let him kill me? I scoffed. Are you stupid? You're next. Huang Yuan roared, his speed doubling as he tore through my chains. He moved like a phantom, his claws whistling through the air as he lunged for my throat. I smiled. Good. I needed a test subject for this. I focused my energy. Dark elements swirled in my palms, condensing into the shape of a massive, shadowy bat. Dark bat strike. The creature spread its wings and soared toward him, trailing shadows behind it. The massive shadow bat exploded in midair, shattering into a swarm of tiny, shadowy creatures the size of butterflies. They swirled around Huang Yuan like a black hurricane, their wings humming with dark energy. He lashed out with his wolf claws, trying to tear through the cloud, but it was useless. Every time he struck one down, two more took its place. The dark element teeth of those bats began to gnaw at him, shredding his fur and skin until he was a bloody mess. I didn't let up. Using the last of my energy, I summoned a shadow claw and slammed it down, pinning Huang Yuan into a deep pit. The shadow ambush ended, and the bats vanished. My chest heaved. That move was powerful, but the energy drain was insane. I needed better cultivation techniques or some rare treasures to boost my reserves if I wanted to keep using it. Huang Yuan coughed up a mouthful of thick blood. "Don't kill me," he wheezed, his arrogance gone. "Please, I'll be your slave. I'll do anything. Tell me who sent you," I said, my voice cold. His eyes darted around frantically. No one had actually sent him, but he needed a scapegoat to survive. It was the envoy, the Tsongleng envoy. "He's the one who ordered me to come after you." I committed the name to memory. Tsongleng. I didn't know who he was yet, but he was officially on my list. "Where is your base?" I asked. "I don't know," he cried out. "We move every week." "I swear, I'm telling the truth." I nodded slowly, my eyes narrowing. "If you don't have anything useful to say, then you're just a waste of space." The death-grinding lotus flashed like a streak of black lightning. It sliced through the air, and Huang Yuan's head rolled into the dirt. I wasn't here for mercy. I was here for slaughter points. A few minutes ago, this man was telling me to choose my own way to die. Now he was just another corpse. I felt a wave of disgust as I searched his body, taking anything of value before turning to leave. This was a wake-up call. The world outside the city walls was crawling with blood-beast cultists. If I wanted to survive, I couldn't just walk out the front gate like a tourist. I needed disguises. I needed to be smarter. I made it back to the city gates just as the sun was dipping below the horizon. The guard on duty looked at me with a smirk. "Hey, Suchun, you actually made it back alive. Does me being alive bother you?" I snapped. No, we were just worried," he stammered. I didn't feel like talking. I reached into my bag and tossed Huang Yuan's severed head at his feet. "Here, a gift for you since you're stuck on guard duty." The guard stared at the head, his face turning pale. "Is this Huang Yuan, the Tier 1 Level 7 killer?" "He tried to ambush me," I said casually. "I heard there's a bounty on these cultists. Keep the change." I walked past them without looking back. Behind me, I could hear their whispers. Their tone had shifted from mockery to pure awe. They were calling me Lord Su Chun now, terrified that they had ever called me a fool. It didn't matter to me. Their respect was just a byproduct of my strength. When I got home, I collapsed into a chair and checked my status. I had 400 slaughter points. I didn't hesitate. I dumped every single point into my shadow ambush skill. A surge of cold, dark power flooded my veins. The skill leveled up to the entry stage. I could feel the difference immediately. The shadows felt more like an extension of my own limbs. I tried to push further, using my shadow cultivation method to split my shadow into a clone that could train while I rested. It was a high-level technique with massive potential. If I could create 10 or 100 shadows to cultivate for me, my growth would be unstoppable. But after a few seconds, the shadow collapsed, and sweat poured down my face. My level was still too low to maintain it. I didn't let it get me down. I ate a massive meal, fueled by the adrenaline of the day, and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, I headed to the execution grounds behind the Bureau of Supernatural Ability. Shi Yuanshan was waiting for me with a folder in his hand. "Here's the list for today, kid," he said, looking at me with a mix of concern and curiosity. I opened the file. 15 death row inmates and 10 three-eyed demon rats. The criminals ranged from Tier 1 Level 4 to Level 9. Rapists, murderers, and more cultists. I did the math in my head. This single session would net me over 1,000 slaughter points. The Level 9 prisoner alone was worth 200. I looked up at Shi Yuanshan and grinned. "Uncle, if you ever have more work like this, make sure you call me first." Shi Yuanshan frowned, clearly disturbed by how excited I looked. He thought I was trying to overcome a fear of killing. He had no idea that to me, these monsters weren't people. They were just the fuel I needed to reach the top. "I'll tell you more later," Shi Yuanshan said, his voice dropping to a serious tone. "If there's anything you need help with, I'll do my best. You can count on me." Even if I hadn't been connected to his niece, he would have helped me. I was a rising star in the city, an S-rank talent with limitless potential. We chatted as we walked, eventually reaching the execution grounds. Dozens of Level 2 and Level 3 officers from the Bureau of Supernatural Abilities stood guard, their eyes sharp and vigilant. In the center, 15 prisoners were tied up, kneeling in the dirt, waiting for their end. The deputy director of the Bureau, Ligoan, hurried over the moment he saw us. A wide smile plastered across his face. City Lord Shi, what an honor. I would have greeted you at the gates if I'd known you were coming. No need for formalities, Shi Yuanshan said, waving him off with a casual air. Ligoan turned his gaze to me. And this must be Su Chun, the S-rank awakener. A fine young man, truly. Hello, Deputy Director, I said politely. Ligoan nodded, his eyes gleaming. It's no trouble at all to have you handle the executions today. An S-rank genius like you is destined for greatness. It's an honor to have you here. The pleasure is mine, I replied humbly. Thank you for the opportunity. Ligoan was about to speak again when one of the prisoners let out a loud, mocking laugh. Sending a damn kid to execute me? What kind of man are you? If you've got guts, let me fight you fairly. I looked at the man. He was desperate, trying to bait a hot-headed youth into a real fight just to have a slim chance at survival. I didn't say a word. I just stepped forward. You want a fair fight? I asked, stopping right in front of him. Yeah. What? Are you scared? The prisoner sneered. If you don't, you're just a coward hiding behind the law. I nodded slowly, a cold, predatory smile spreading across my face. Fine. Let's do it your way. The death-grinding lotus appeared in my hand, its dark energy humming. You call yourself a man? You talk about fairness? Then why did you wait for a rainy night to sneak up on and murder those female students? Before he could respond, 2 streaks of dark light flashed through the air. The man's arms flew off his body, blood spraying the dirt. He screamed, his balance failing as his face slammed into the ground. I stepped on his head, pinning him down. Scum like you doesn't deserve to talk about fairness. Go to hell. I swung the scythe. His head rolled across the pavement. Asterisk kill confirmed. Tier 1, Level 7. Slaughter points plus 120. Asterisk. From a distance, Shi Yuanshan watched with a stunned expression. He had brought me here to help me overcome the fear of killing. But I didn't look like I was overcoming anything. I looked like the god of death himself. He stared at the dark lotus in my hand, his mind racing. Was that a sentient soul weapon? I was just getting warmed up when a black business van screeched to a halt at the edge of the grounds. The door slid open, and a young woman with a sharp aura stepped out, followed by a white-haired old man named Lu Dong. City Lord Shi, Lu Dong said, bowing respectfully. The Lu family is here for the execution too? Shi Yuanshan asked. Yes, Lu Dong explained. Our young lady awakened her abilities this year. The master wanted her to experience a real kill here before heading out to hunt beasts. Shi Yuanshan nodded and looked at the girl. So this is Miss Lu Yen? She gave a faint smile. Greetings, City Lord. You're a step late, I'm afraid, Shi Yuanshan said. All the prisoners have already been assigned to Su Chun. Lu Yan's smile faltered. She looked at me, her eyes flashing with jealousy. It was always Su Chun. Between him and Luo Qingxue, she, the daughter of the prestigious Lu family, was always overshadowed. She was a B-rank awakener, yet she was being pushed aside for a commoner. Su Chun, what are you doing here? She asked, walking toward me. I glanced back, recognizing her from school. I didn't know her well, and I didn't care to. What does it look like? I'm killing people, I said coldly. I swung my scythe again, and another head rolled. Lu Yan clenched her fists. Su Chun, they're tied up. What kind of skill is that? You're an S-rank, right? If you're so brave, let them loose and fight them properly. Or are you just a coward? She crossed her arms, a smug look on her face. She was betting that I wouldn't dare. I had only awakened 3 days ago. There was no way I could handle multiple Tier 1 prisoners at level 5 or 6 at once. She expected me to back down and look weak in front of everyone. I stopped moving and frowned. This girl was delusional. I wanted to finish this quickly and leave, but now, I had a better idea. The best way to deal with people like her was to show them how easy their impossible challenges were for me. You think I'm afraid? I lifted the death-grinding lotus. Fine, I'll do it. Lu Yan blinked, surprised I had actually agreed. Oh, so brave, Brother Su Chun. Then show us a real fight. I let out a cold laugh and pointed the scythe at the strongest prisoner, a level 9 murderer with a vicious gaze. Except for him, untie the rest. They can all come at me at once. Fighting them one by one is boring. The level 9 prisoner opened his eyes, staring at me for a second before closing them again in contempt. The other prisoners, however, started grinning, rubbing their wrists as they prepared to tear me apart. They thought I was a fool who had fallen for a girl's taunts. The guards looked at Deputy Director Li, worried. Li looked at Shi Yuanshan. Shi Yuanshan was silent for a moment before nodding. Do as he says. He believed in me. If my weapon was what he thought it was, these criminals didn't stand a chance. Untie them, Li Goen ordered. Lu Yan's face lit up with excitement. She had just wanted to annoy me, but this was even better. She couldn't wait to see me get flattened by a mob of angry convicts. Lu Yan quickly pulled out her phone. She wanted to record this, eager to show everyone at school how pathetic I looked. The prisoners didn't need any more encouragement. One of them spat on the ground, his eyes gleaming with malice. Kid, if we're going to die anyway, beating you to death first is a hell of a bonus. Brothers, kill him. With a collective roar, the dozen convicts charged at me at once. I stood my ground, my body as steady as a mountain pine. There was no fear in my eyes, only cold calculation. As they reached me, I swung the death-grinding lotus in a wide, vicious arc. Thud, thud, thud. The sound of flesh being parted was sickeningly wet. The men in the front row didn't even have time to scream before they were sliced clean in half at the waist. In my mind, notifications flashed like a flood. Slaughter points were pouring into my system. The remaining prisoners froze. The bloodlust in their eyes vanished, replaced by pure, unadulterated terror. They looked at my weapon, then at the halved corpses of their friends. What kind of weapon is that? One stammered. It's a monster. Screw it. Kill him, or he kills us. Another shouted, his hand glowing with a sharp energy blade as he lunged. I didn't even need to swing the scythe. I triggered my skill, and a massive, pitch-black shadow claw materialized in the air. It slammed down with the force of a falling building, crushing the man into a pulp of meat and bone. In seconds, a dozen men had been reduced to less than 10. The survivors broke. They didn't care about their pride anymore. He's a demon. He's the god of death. Run, they screamed, turning their backs to flee. They thought I was the clown in this show. They didn't realize I was the executioner. A cruel smile touched my lips as my black trench coat fluttered in the wind. My voice sounded like a death sentence from the depths of hell. Run? Do you really think you can escape? I had no reason to hold back anymore. Tomorrow was the early recruitment for the academies, and after that, I'd be heading to the front lines. I needed to grow, and I needed to do it now. Shadow Claw. Dark Abyss Altar. 10 Shadows Ambush. Activate. I unleashed everything. The fleeing prisoners were instantly plunged into a world of endless pain and despair. Their screams echoed across the execution grounds, sharp and rhythmic. This wasn't just a quick death. I wanted them to feel the weight of their crimes in their final moments. I stepped forward and casually took the head of the last fleeing convict. Then, I turned toward Lu Yan. I tossed the dripping, severed head right at her feet. Ah! Lu Yan's face turned paper white. She let out a piercing shriek, her body shaking so violently she could barely stand. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed backward, staring at the head in disbelief. She couldn't wrap her head around it. How could a level 5 fighter slaughter people of the same rank like he was killing chickens? My black coat was soaked through with blood, the crimson stain stark against the dark fabric. I gripped the dripping scythe and walked toward her, one slow step at a time. What are you afraid of? I asked, my voice low. Don't you want me to kill a few more to keep the party going? She scrambled backward on the ground, her eyes wide with horror. She tripped over the very head I had thrown, falling flat on her backside. Don't come near me. Stay away. To her, I wasn't a student anymore. I was a heartless, cold-blooded monster. I stopped and looked down at her. Idiot. You better pray you never cross my path again. If I see you, I'll break you. Every single time. People like her only learned through pain. If I didn't crush her spirit now, she'd never stop being a nuisance. Su Chun, how dare you threaten the young miss? Lu Dong shouted, stepping forward to intervene. Little Dong, what exactly do you plan on doing to my son-in-law? Shi Yuanshan's voice cut through the air. He walked up casually and placed a heavy hand on Lu Dong's shoulder. There was a sickening crack as he applied pressure, the sound of bones splintering. "Ah, stop. I was wrong. I'm sorry," Lu Dong groaned, instantly folding under the pain. Shi Yuanshan smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "Good. As long as you know you're wrong. Now, take your lady and get out of here." Everyone saw it. Lu Yin started this. She tried to bait me into a trap, and it backfired. Shi Yuanshan wasn't about to let anyone bully his chosen candidate. Lu Dong didn't dare say another word. He scrambled to help the trembling, incoherent Lu Yin into the car, and they sped away in disgrace. "Good job, Su Chun," Shi Yuanshan said, looking at me with growing pride. I could tell he was becoming more and more set on making me his son-in-law. "Finish off the last one and the beasts in the cages, then we'll leave." I nodded respectfully. "Thank you, Uncle Shi." I walked over to the level 9 prisoner. He looked up at me, but there was no fear in his eyes, only a strange sense of relief. "To die by your hand. I have no regrets," he whispered. Something about the way I fought had awakened a spark of respect in him, but it was far too late for redemption. "Try to be a better man in the next life," I said. I borrowed a standard sword and drove it through his heart. Then, I moved to the cages and finished off the three-eyed rat demons. The execution was over. I checked my system, 2,300 slaughter points. My heart raced. With this much, I could finally take my strength to the next level. I walked back to Shi Yuanshan. "Let's go, kid," he said. "I have questions for you." As I prepared to get in the car, Li Goen, the deputy director of the bureau, rushed over. "Su Chun, wait. Would you consider joining the Ability Bureau after graduation? I'll contact my superiors immediately and get you the best possible terms." He was desperate. He had seen my potential, and he didn't want to let it slip away. I shook my head. "It's too early for that. Let's talk after I graduate." Li Goen looked disappointed, but he quickly handed me a business card. "If you ever need anything, call me. If you think I'm not high-ranking enough, I'll have my boss call you personally." "I'll keep it in mind," I said, taking the card and stepping into the car. Once we were moving, Shi Yuanshan looked at me with a smirk. "So, Su Chun, I thought you said you needed to overcome your fear of killing." I coughed awkwardly. "Well, once I saw their crimes, my anger just kind of took over. I guess I don't need to overcome it anymore." Shi Yuanshan clearly didn't believe a word of it, but he didn't push. He knew everyone had secrets. "And your cultivation level? And that tier 3 skill I gave you? You mastered it that quickly." "Just luck," I lied through my teeth. My head felt hot while I was practicing last night, and suddenly the skill improved. The level up just happened the same way. Total fluke. Shi Yuanshan shook his head, a faint smile on his face. He knew I was full of it. To him, there was no such thing as a fluke like that. He probably figured I was just a kid who practiced day and night and didn't want to brag about my hard work. Little did he know, I had a system doing the heavy lifting. Even if I was the most hard-working genius in the world, my cultivation speed was borderline absurd. Shi Yuanshan knew it. He looked at me, his eyes narrowing as he voiced his final doubt. He asked if my death-grinding lotus was a natal soul weapon. I didn't see any point in lying to him. I nodded and confirmed that it was. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper, asking what grade it was. "S rank," I said simply. Shi Yuanshan froze, then started nodding frantically, his face lighting up with pure joy. He kept muttering "good" over and over again. He told me I had hidden it well. Apparently, in the entire Dragon Country, there were fewer than 10 known people who had awakened a natal soul weapon. These weapons were far stronger than ordinary combat gear and were virtually indestructible. I rubbed my nose, feeling a bit sheepish. I hadn't meant to hide it forever, but I knew that once I got to the Ability Academy, I needed to keep a low profile. I told him it was just luck, but he didn't buy it. He laughed, telling me there wasn't a single honest word coming out of my mouth. Then he asked if I had figured out my unique ability trait yet. I shook my head. I hadn't unlocked that part of my power. He told me not to rush it. He advised me to hunt more beasts, because real truth is only found in actual combat. I promised him I would. Shi Yuanshan sighed, looking out the window with a look of anticipation. He said he couldn't wait to see me dominate at the academies. With my current progress, I was already leagues ahead of the children of the elite families in Kyoto and Magic City. For years, the title of top genius had shifted between those two cities. He told me it was time for a change. My eyes hardened. I was looking forward to it too. Crushing weaklings was boring. I wanted opponents who could actually push me. Winning in River City was nothing. My goal was to defeat the top talents in the entire country. If I wanted to restore the glory of the dark element, I couldn't just play around. I had to take down the best of the best. Shi Yuanshan reached into his pocket and pulled out a vibrant red jade stone. He told me that once I picked an academy, I had to let him know immediately. He handed me the stone, explaining that it was a lifesaver. If I was in danger, it would automatically trigger a fire shield capable of blocking a Tier 5 attack. More importantly, if the jade shattered, he would feel it and come to find me instantly. I didn't turn him down. This was exactly what I needed. It was another layer of protection for my life. He patted my shoulder, calling me the treasure of River City, and we drove back as the city lights began to flicker on. Across town, the mood was different at the Luo mansion. Luo Dongshan was questioning his daughter, Luo Qingxue, about her progress. The 3-year pact between our families was due tomorrow. Qingxue remained cold and distant. She reported that she had reached Tier 1, Level 2, and her combat records were steadily improving. Her speed was exceptional for her age. Her father was pleased and reminded her to use the A-rank weapon the butler had given her. He had spent tens of millions on that gear just to ensure she wouldn't lose. She nodded silently and turned to leave. Luo Dongshan sighed at her coldness. He called out to her, promising that once she won, he would compensate me with whatever resources I wanted. He insisted that the Luo family could not lose this fight. Qingxue closed her eyes, giving a faint response, but her mind was a mess. Part of her wanted to lose. She felt the weight of everything the Luo family had done to me over the years. But if she lost, the family's honor would be destroyed. She was torn. She assumed that even with the resources I had, there was no way I could match her level or combat experience. Watch out for him, Luo Dongshan added. I heard he's already mastered a Tier 2 skill to the minor accomplishment stage. He's clearly spending all his time practicing. Qingxue froze. Mastering a Tier 2 skill in just 2 days? The thought sent a jolt through her. She imagined me practicing day and night, fueled by spite and determination. A small spark lit up in her eyes. She started to wonder if she should lose on purpose or give it her all. Think of your parents, her father shouted after her. That hit her like a hammer. Her body stiffened, her fists clenched, and after a long silence, she walked away without a word. Meanwhile, I was sitting in a restaurant, grinning at Shi Yaoyao. I thanked her for the treat, but she just huffed, sipping her orange juice. She claimed she only came because her father forced her to. She wanted to know what we did that morning that made her father suddenly treat me like a prized son-in-law. I teased her, pointing out that if she really didn't want to be there, she wouldn't have called me to dinner in the first place. She got flustered, unable to argue. It seemed she was realizing her own feelings were more complicated than she let on. She quickly changed the subject, asking if I wanted her to come to the duel tomorrow. I asked her why she'd bother. Think about it, she said, her eyes sparkling. I'll be there to watch you crush Luo Qingxue. When it's over, I'll bring you a bottle of water in front of everyone. Think of how cool that would look. She was the belle of the first high school. Having her bring me water in front of a crowd would definitely make a statement. I laughed and told her it sounded great, but I didn't need it. She blinked, stunned. She expected me to beg her to come. She pouted, telling me to ask nicely or she wouldn't show up. I just shook my head and refused to play along. You're a bully, she cried, looking like she was about to tear up. Fine, fine. I sighed, giving in. Please come tomorrow, okay? She perked up instantly, acting arrogant again. That's better, but I'm still not going, because you were mean to me earlier. Suit yourself, I shrugged. I'll just ask someone else. I wonder if the girls from the 3rd or 4th high schools are free. Don't you dare, she snapped, suddenly desperate. I'll be there. I'll definitely be there. I looked at her cute, panicked face and smiled. She was so predictable. I stood up, telling her I was heading home to rest. The bill was already paid. I'd see her tomorrow. I stretched my arms over my head, feeling the fatigue of the day settling in. It was time to head back and focus on getting stronger. At least you have a conscience, Shi Yaoyao teased, her mood shifting instantly. Thanks for paying the bill. See you tomorrow. A brilliant smile lit up her face. I didn't turn back, just gave a casual wave over my shoulder. "Get home safe," I called out. She finished the last of her orange juice and skipped away, her footsteps light and full of joy. I made my way home, locked my door, and immediately pulled up my system panel. My core ability and spiritual energy couldn't be boosted manually yet, but everything else was fair game. Earlier that afternoon, I'd sold off the beasts I hunted yesterday along with some low-level equipment. I'd walked away with a cool 2 million credits. I'd spent almost all of it on a Tier 3 movement technique called Shadow Flash. It allowed me to transform into a literal shadow and dash forward. The higher the proficiency, the further the distance. System, upgrade Shadow Flash to entry level. I commanded. 300 slaughter points vanished. It was done. I still had 2,000 points left. I didn't hesitate. Raise my cultivation to first order, 6th level. 600 points gone. I felt the surge of power immediately. I had 1,400 points remaining. Next, I funneled 300 points into Dark Abyss Altar and 800 into Abyssal Bat Strike to bring them both to the small success stage. I was left with only 300 points. My body hummed with raw energy. I clenched my fists, feeling the difference. The control range of my Dark Abyss Altar was massive now. The bats from my Abyssal Strike were more numerous and far more vicious. Most importantly, Shadow Flash now allowed me to blink up to 10 meters instantly. I looked at the measly 300 points left and sighed. The cost of leveling up was growing exponentially. The further I went, the more of a grind it would become. I gave my status one last look. Name, Su-chun. Ability, S-rank Shadow Sovereign. Level, First Order, 6th level. Soul Weapon, S-rank Death, Grinding Lotus. Skills, Tier 3 Abyssal Bat Strike, Small Success. Tier 3 Shadow Flash, Entry. Tier 2 Shadow Claw, Small Success. Tier 2 Dark Abyss Altar, Small Success. Tomorrow, I whispered, my grip tightening. If the Luo family wants to be ruthless, don't blame me for being heartless. I pulled the covers over my head and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, the June sun hung high, scorching the earth and making the Chuanqing Second High School campus shimmer. The atmosphere was electric. A massive banner hung over the main gate. Welcome to the 5 Great Ability Academies. Principal Wang Donglai stood at the entrance in a crisp suit, surrounded by the school board. They were all waiting anxiously. Students lined the fences, whispering in excitement. "We're really riding Su-chun and Luo Qingshua's coattails this year," the teacher of Class 2 remarked, pride swelling in his chest. "To have the 5 great academies visit us early for recruitment, it's unheard of. God is smiling on our school," Wang Donglai agreed, beaming. "Last year we had no one. This year, we have 2 S ranks, and both are high-tier combat types." Just then, a low roar echoed in the distance. 5 military transport vehicles rolled toward the gate. Wang Donglai straightened his tie, his expression turning solemn. The vehicle stopped, and 3 men and 2 women stepped out. "Is that Zhao Tianyan?" Someone gasped from the crowd. "The spear master from the Shanghai Academy? And look, that's Long Zhan from the military university. He's the one who killed a 7th Order King class beast while he was still at the 7th Order himself." The students were starstruck. Even Chu Zining from the Kyoto Academy had arrived. Wang Donglai hurried forward, bowing slightly. "Welcome, representatives. Your presence honors our school." "You've done well, Principal Wang," Li Siwei from the Guangzhou Academy said with a polite smile. "Enough pleasantries," Zhao Tianyan snapped, his voice gruff. "Where are Su-chun and Luo Qingxue?" "Still as impatient as ever, Zhao," Chu Zining teased from the Kyoto side. "Did the Shanghai Academy run out of people? Why did they send you?" "Watch it," Zhao shot back. The rivalry between the Shanghai and Kyoto academies was legendary, and it clearly extended to their recruiters. "Stop bickering," Lu Fenglan from the Northwood Academy interrupted, frowning. "We're here to recruit, not watch you two fight." Wang Donglai stood between the giants, sweat beads forming on his brow. He didn't want to offend any of them. "Representatives, you may have heard that Su-chun and Luo Qingxue are having a duel today. Why don't we head to the arena? You can watch the match before we start the interviews." The recruiters nodded. Seeing the 2 prodigies in action would help them decide what kind of scholarship packages to offer. Once they were seated in the VIP section of the arena, Wang handed out files on the students. These are the profiles for Su Chun and Luo Qingxue, along with a few other promising candidates. Lu Fenglan flipped through Su Chen's file and sighed. An S rank from a commoner background is rare. But he's facing Luo Qingxue, who has the entire Luo family's resources behind her. This won't be easy for him. The others agreed. Shadow-type abilities were historically considered weaker in raw power compared to elements like ice, lightning, or fire. Without a wealthy background to buy high-end resources, Su Chun was at a massive disadvantage. "Excuse me for a moment, everyone," Wang Donglai said, bowing out. He hurried back to the school gate where another guest had just arrived. "City Lord Shi?" Wang asked, surprised. "What brings you to Second High today?" City Lord Shi Yuanshan was a man who usually kept a low profile. He never liked showing off or drawing attention to himself, so his sudden appearance at Second High caught everyone off guard. Principal Wang Donglai assumed he was there for the 5 academy representatives, but he couldn't have been more wrong. "I've come to watch my future son-in-law's match," Shi Yuanshan said calmly. Wang Donglai froze. Future son-in-law? Su Chen's face flashed through his mind instantly. He looked at the city lord, his jaw practically hitting the floor. "City Lord Shi, are you saying you're here for Su Chen?" "Exactly," Shi Yuanshan replied. "Am I not allowed inside?" "Of course. Please, this way," Wang Donglai stammered, gesturing toward the interior. He was reeling. He never expected Su Chun to have a connection like this. In just 3 days, the boy had managed to win over the most powerful man in the city. As Shi Yuanshan walked toward the martial arts arena, more big names started trickling in. Powerful figures and local leaders arrived one after another. Wang Donglai sighed, realizing the Luo family must have been promoting this match heavily behind the scenes. They wanted to use this stage to climb even higher. He felt a pang of pity for me. One boy against an entire family. It wasn't a fair fight. Meanwhile, I was standing by the school gate, happily munching on a fried pancake. I glanced at the rows of luxury cars and military vehicles lining the street and whistled. Wow, they really went all out with the theatrics, didn't they? "Brother Chun, you're finally here." Han Xiaoli ran up to me, panting, her face pale with anxiety. "What's up, Xiaoli?" I asked, finishing my bite. "Don't get mad, okay?" She hesitated, biting her lip. I felt a bad premonition crawl up my spine. "Just say it. I just saw the Luo family. They brought your second uncle to watch the match." My expression turned cold instantly. My fist clenched so hard my knuckles turned white. The Luo family was playing dirty. Bringing my uncle, Su Tianfeng, wasn't just a gesture. They wanted me to be humiliated in front of the person I cared about most. They wanted him to watch me get crushed under Luo Qingxue's boots. They wanted to see his heartbreak and hear him beg for mercy. If I didn't have the system, I really would have been their sacrificial lamb. A surge of fury burned in my chest. Today wasn't just about winning. I was going to make Luo Dongshan get on his knees and apologize in front of everyone. "Don't be angry, Brother Chun," Han Xiaoli whispered, trying to comfort me. "I know you can win." I gave a short, sharp laugh. "I'm not just going to win. I'm going to crush them. I'll pay them back 100 times over." After today, I muttered to myself, "We're done with them for good." Han Xiaoli nodded fervently. "I believe you. I'd bet my entire future love life on your victory." I patted her shoulder and chuckled. "Hey, don't say things like that. Besides, winning is a certainty." She smiled, but I could see the waves of worry still crashing behind her eyes. As we turned to enter the school, a cold, clear voice called out from behind me. "Su Chun, can we talk alone?" I paused and turned around. Luo Qingxue stood there, her face as beautiful and distant as ever. I nodded. Han Xiaoli took the hint, gave us a quick smile, and hurried away. We walked to a quiet, shaded area near the air conditioning units. The silence between us was heavy. Suddenly, she stopped and turned to face me. "I want you to win this match," she said softly. "I'll hold back." I almost laughed. She thought the Luo family owed me so much that losing to me was the only way to compensate. "Don't bother," I said. "I want you to give it everything you've got. If you don't, you won't even last one move against me." I had already scanned her. She was at rank 1, tier 2. For someone who had only awakened 3 days ago, that was impressive, a true genius among her peers. But compared to me, She was nothing. Her eyes widened, flickering with confusion. In her memory, I was never this arrogant. The boy standing in front of her was a complete stranger to this silly Su Chun she used to know. You really want me to go all out? She asked. I do. It's the best choice for both of us. I didn't actually hate her personally. My hatred was reserved for her father, Luo Dongshan, the man who betrayed my family and kicked us while we were down. Are you sure? I'm sure. After today, we have no connection anymore. I didn't wait for her response. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there alone. She watched my back, her mind racing. She couldn't understand what could have changed me so drastically in such a short time. With a sigh, she followed the path toward the arena. The arena was packed. Thousands of people were crammed into the stands, the noise level deafening. Representatives from various factions, government officials, and students from other schools had all gathered. An S-rank duel was a rare spectacle, and nobody wanted to miss it. Representatives, I am Luo Dongshan, Qingshua's father, Luo Dongshan said, wearing a greasy smile as he approached the VIP section. The recruiters from Jingwu and Mowu academies barely glanced at him, their eyes full of disdain. Li Siwei, however, gave a polite nod. You've done well raising such a daughter, head Luo. Oh, it's all her own hard work, Luo Dongshan replied, though he was beaming with pride. I look forward to the match then, Li Siwei said, ending the conversation and turning his attention back to the stage. Luo Dongshan took the hint and backed off. He leaned toward his butler. Is Su Chen's uncle here? He's right there, the butler whispered, pointing towards Su Tianfeng. Luo Dongshan spotted my uncle and smirked. Well done. Only following your lead, master, the butler flattered. As Luo Dongshan walked away, other local leaders swarmed him, offering empty compliments. In their eyes, Luo Qingshua's victory was a foregone conclusion. Today was the day the Luo family would skyrocket, and I was just the stepping stone they needed. You have a great daughter, Luo. Your family is going to the top. We should discuss our business partnership soon, don't you think? Luo Dongshan soaked it in like fine wine. Don't worry, friends. When the Luo family rises, I won't forget you. In his mind, his family was the protagonist of this story. They were destined for glory. From a distance, Shi Yuanshan watched the display and shook his head. The Luo family is about to fall off a cliff, he muttered. Father, where is Su Chun? I don't see him, Shi Yaoyao asked, looking around eagerly. He'll be out soon. Principal Wang is about to start the introductions. Shi Yaoyao groaned. She hated crowds, and the only reason she was here was to see me. The atmosphere in the arena reached a fever pitch. Principal Wang Donglai stepped onto the podium and raised his voice over the crowd. Welcome, everyone, to the duel between Su Chun and Luo Qingxue. Welcome, everyone, to the duel between Su Chun and Luo Qingxue. Principal Wang Donglai's voice boomed across the arena. He acknowledged the representatives from the 5 great academies sitting in the VIP section. Then, he called our names. It was time, and Luo Qingxue moved first. She stepped down from the preparation area, heading toward the stage with a cold, elegant grace. The sunlight hit her face, making her look like a goddess carved from ice. The crowd went wild. Luo Qingxue will win, they screamed. The ice beauty is invincible. Women are just as strong as men. The cheers hit us like a tidal wave. Up in the stands, the Academy scouts were already making their judgments. Zhao Tianyin nodded in approval, noting her poise. Li Siwei was even more blunt, claiming the match would be a total landslide. In their eyes, ice beat darkness, and a rich girl with elite resources would always crush a penniless orphan like me. Only Chu Jining remained quiet. When the others mocked my chances, she cut them off. She wanted to see me fight first. Let's welcome Su Chun to the stage. Wang Donglai shouted again. The crowd looked at the empty preparation seats. I wasn't there. A confused murmur rippled through the stands. Then, the heavy main gates of the martial arts field slowly creaked open. I walked in. I wore a suit of pitch-black combat gear, feeling like a king emerging from the shadows. Thousands of eyes tracked my every move, but I didn't feel a hint of panic. My mind was ice cold. I scanned the crowd until I saw my uncle, Su Tianfeng, waving frantically at me. Go for it, Chun. You can do it, he yelled, his voice cracking with worry. I gave him a small smile and a reassuring nod. Then, I turned my focus back to the stage. Up in the VIP seats, the scouts were placing bets. Zhao Tianyun was so sure of my defeat, he offered to give Chu Jining anything she wanted if I lost. Chu Jining didn't flinch. She was a darkness element user herself, and she felt something coming from me, a pressure so intense it made her feel like a foot soldier standing before a high king. She bet a rank 5 dark technique manual on me. I stepped onto the stage, facing Luo Qingxue. It was a study in contrasts, her in sky blue, me in midnight black. The referee looked at both of us. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Yes," we replied simultaneously. The referee backed away and signaled the start. Immediately, Luo Qingxue's eyes glowed with a brilliant, sapphire light. She blew a handful of snowflakes into the air. "Absolute zero," she cried. The temperature plummeted. Massive snowflakes swirled around the stage like white spirits, and within seconds, the ground was buried under thick, jagged ice. The cold bit into my skin. Frost began to crawl up my boots, then my waist, then my chest. Before I could even raise a hand, I was encased in a solid pillar of ice. I stood there like a frozen statue. The arena fell silent. Then, the insults started. "That's it. One move, and he's done." I knew he was a fraud. What a joke. Luo Dongshan, watching from the front row, let out a long breath of relief. He smirked, convinced that my S-rank talent was just a hollow title. But his triumph lasted only a second. Crack. A tiny sound echoed through the silence. Then came another. Cracker snap. The ice pillar shattered into a million glittering shards. I stood there, brushing frost off my shoulder, a cold smile playing on my lips. "The match is just getting started," I said. Luo Qingxue's eyes widened. She didn't hesitate. She reached into her storage ring and drew a rank A weapon, the Frostblade. She swung it with everything she had, sending a lethal crescent of ice energy flying straight at my throat. I didn't dodge. I didn't even flinch. I reached out my right hand, and dark energy began to swirl in my palm like a miniature black hole. In an instant, the death-grinding lotus manifested in my grip. It pulsed with a terrifying, suffocating darkness. With one casual swipe of the lotus, I shattered her frostblade energy as if I were cutting through dry grass. The ice dissolved into nothingness before it could even touch me. Luo Qingxue's face went pale. She felt the raw power radiating from my soul weapon, but she didn't have time to process the fear. Above her, a massive shadow claw formed in the air, plunging down like the hand of a god. She tried to jump back, but her feet wouldn't move. She looked down in horror. A pool of pitch-black liquid had formed beneath her, and misty tentacles of darkness were coiled tightly around her legs. Boom. The impact sounded like a thunderclap. Blood sprayed across the ice as Luo Qingxue was sent flying backward like a broken doll. The force was so great it shredded her outer clothes, revealing a glowing suit of rank A silver armor underneath. That armor was the only reason she was still breathing. She skidded across the stage and lay there, gasping for air. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with utter disbelief and shock. I stood over her, my aura flaring with the strength of a first-order, 6th-level cultivator. She let out a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. She had spent the whole week looking down on me, thinking I was beneath her. Now she knew the truth. She wasn't the protagonist of this story, she was just the clown. Luo Qingxue lay there, broken and defeated. It was almost funny thinking back to how she'd bragged about holding back against me. Now, a deep sense of powerlessness washed over her. She looked like she wanted to just curl up and disappear. The entire arena fell into a deathly silence before exploding into pure chaos. My true cultivation level was out in the open now, and people couldn't believe their eyes. "Am I seeing things?" someone yelled from the stands. Suchin just two-shot her. She was wearing rank A armor. "This has to be a joke," another student cried out. "He's already at the first order, 6th level? I've been training like a maniac just to hit the 1st level. What am I even doing with my life?" The girls in the crowd were even louder. "He's so cool. Look at that weapon in his hand. Is that a life-bound soul treasure?" Suddenly, the tide of public opinion shifted. A moment ago, they were all cheering for the goddess Luo Qingxue. Now, I was the only god they recognized. Up in the VIP section, Zhao Tianyun was losing his mind. He slapped his thigh so hard it echoed. I want this kid. He's mine. His eyes were practically glowing. It was unheard of. Reaching the 6th level only 4 days after awakening? The current national record in the Dragon Kingdom was 10 days. I hadn't just broken the record. I had rewritten history. And it wasn't just my raw power. Every battle technique I used was already at the minor accomplishment stage. I wasn't just a genius anymore. I was a monster. So, Chu Jining said, her voice dripping with playful sarcasm as she looked at the other scouts. Who was it that was so sure the girl would win? She was still reeling from the shock herself. This kid wasn't just strong. Even if you brought out the elite children hidden away by the old monsters in the capital, they probably wouldn't last a round against me. She also had a nagging suspicion that the black lotus in my hand wasn't just a weapon. It was a part of my very soul. I was blind, okay? Zhao Tianyun snapped back. But don't you dare try to snatch him from me. I'll fight whoever tries. Chu Jining let out a soft laugh. We'll see if you have the skills to keep him. While they bickered, the other 3 representatives from the top academies were already on their phones with their principals. They were begging for permission to offer me the highest possible recruitment tier. They knew that whoever got me would basically be guaranteed the championship in the upcoming National Academy tournament. On the other side of the VIP area, Luo Dongshan was slumped in his seat like a pile of wet mud. His face was as white as paper. Despair and resentment choked him. It was over. Everything was over. He couldn't wrap his head around how an orphan like me could become this powerful. This glory was supposed to belong to the Luo family. It was supposed to be theirs. He couldn't accept that a nobody had snatched it all away. His eyes turned bloodshot, a flicker of madness dancing in them. But when he looked around, he saw the truth. The people who had been sucking up to him moments ago were now backing away as if he had the plague. When you're strong, everyone flatters you. When you're weak, even a dog won't spare you a glance. Back on the stage, I walked toward Luo Qingxue. I raised the death-grinding lotus above my head like a judge passing a final sentence. You lost, I said coldly. Luo Qingxue gave a bitter, hollow smile. I lost. I'm sorry. She knew it was a total defeat. She hadn't even been able to fight back. You're not the one who should be saying sorry, I said. I whipped my head around, my gaze locking onto Luo Dongshan in the stands. I reached into my robe and pulled out a piece of paper, the marriage contract. Luo Dongshan, you old dog, my voice boomed across the arena. What do you have to say for yourself now? From the very beginning, it wasn't me who wasn't good enough for your family. It was your family that wasn't worthy of mine. I stared him down, the memories of the past 3 years fueling my rage. 18 years ago, my parents risked their lives to save you and your wife. You didn't show gratitude. Instead, 3 years ago, after my parents passed away, you showed up at my door to break the engagement. You threw some pathetic resources at me like I was a beggar. You injured my uncle. You spread lies that I was a degenerate just to justify your betrayal. I held the red contract high. Today, this engagement is officially over. But let's get one thing straight. I am the one dumping the Luo family. You aren't worthy of the Su name. With a violent tear, I shredded the contract. The red fragments fluttered into the air like bloody snowflakes. 3 years ago, I had just arrived in this world when my parents died in battle. Then came the humiliation from the Luos. My uncle had tried to stand up for me, only to be beaten and mocked, told he would spend the rest of his life as a lowly hunter. Today, I was going to make Luo Dongshan pay 100 times over. Only the winner gets to tell the truth. The crowd's eyes turned toward Luo Dongshan like scorching spotlights. Wow, so the Luo family is that scummy, someone shouted. I'm never buying anything from them again. Disgusting. They saved your life and you stabbed them in the back? You're worse than a dog. At least a dog wags its tail when you feed it. Apologize. 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 The chant took over the stadium. Luo Dongshan's former business partners were already shouting their disassociation. Luo Dongshan, don't ever call me again. Our deal is off. I don't work with ungrateful snakes. Luo Dongshan felt the strength leave his body. He had built his reputation on lies, and now the foundation had crumbled. Luo Dongshan. Principal Shi Yuanshan said from the stage. Go up there and apologize. Try to save whatever tiny shred of dignity your family has left. Luo Dongshan nodded like a zombie. He leaped onto the stage, standing before me, the boy who had just destroyed his life. The hatred in his eyes was gone, replaced by a crushing weight of regret. If he hadn't been so blinded by greed and power, none of this would have happened. He dropped to one knee. I'm sorry, Su-chun. I failed you, and I failed your parents. Don't you dare mention my parents. I spat, my eyes burning with disgust. You aren't sorry because you realized you were wrong. You're only sorry because you realized you're finished. I don't deserve to speak of them. I know, he whispered, his fists clenched tight. You owe more than just me an apology. I turned toward the edge of the stage. Uncle, come here. Su Tianfeng walked up slowly, his expression a mix of pain and pride. You need to apologize to my uncle, I demanded. He was there with my parents, hunting beasts alongside you. You mocked the very man who fought by your side. You make me sick. Luo Dongshan looked at my uncle, his lips trembling. Tianfeng, I'm so sorry. He moved to bow deeply, but my uncle reached out and stopped him with a heavy sigh. Dongshan, you really shouldn't have lived your life this way. I couldn't hold back my anger any longer. I delivered a sharp kick to Luo Dongshan's chest, sending him tumbling across the stone floor. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, but I didn't care. From this moment on, the Su family and the Luo family are dead to each other. We are done. I turned my back on him and walked off the stage with my uncle. In this battle, a commoner had finally brought a powerful family to its knees. I won this fight with absolute glory. Luo Dongshan, on the other hand, lost everything. His dignity was gone, and his family's future looked pitch black. It was exactly what he deserved. Luo Qingxue looked at her broken father with a vacant expression. She seemed lost, her world crumbling around her. She stepped forward and helped him up, her movements numb and mechanical. Let's go home, she whispered. Watching them leave, Wang Donglai sighed heavily. You reap what you sow, he muttered. Then, he raised his voice so the entire arena could hear. Su Qin wins. I knew the truth. If I hadn't been this strong, if I were just some ordinary S-rank awakener, the Luo family would have crushed me into the dirt. I would have never seen the light of day again. But I had changed my own fate. I had created a miracle. Principal Wang turned around to discuss the recruitment process, but the representatives from the 5 great academies were already gone. They were sprinting toward me. It wasn't hard to guess why. They wanted the peerless genius for themselves. Wang Donglai watched them run, a proud smile spreading across his face. Our school had finally produced a true dragon. A few minutes later, my uncle and I were cornered in the principal's office. The scouts surrounded us like hungry wolves. Su-chun, come to my Shanghai Academy, Zhao Tianyan shouted, his voice booming with confidence. I guarantee you a different girl every day. I promise they won't repeat. I stared at him, genuinely confused. Was that supposed to be a selling point? Zhao Tianyan, do you really think Su-chun cares about your trashy offers? Chu Jining sneered, her eyes full of disdain. Exactly, another scout chimed in. Su-chun, join my martial arts academy. We have unlimited military rations, and I'll give you SSS rank admission status immediately. The principal gasped. SSS rank was the highest possible tier. It meant unlimited resources and elite training. My school was about to become famous because of this. Zhao Tianyan turned red. I told you all not to compete with me. Su-chun, come to my place. SSS rank status, and I will personally take you as my final disciple. I remained calm. I wanted to see what everyone was offering. I'd like to hear from the other 3 representatives, I said. It's only fair to compare. 2 other scouts stepped forward quickly. We offer the same. SSS rank status. Looking at my potential, they knew I was worth every bit of it. Principal Wang was stunned. 4 SSS rank offers at once. That was unheard of. Usually, only the children of the legendary powerhouses in Kyoto or Shanghai got that kind of treatment. I turned my gaze toward the final representative, Chu Jining. I was curious about her bid. She was wearing a perfectly tailored women's suit that showed off her sleek silhouette. Her skin was as white as snow, and she had a faint, playful smile on her lips. A touch of wine-red eyeshadow made her look both cold and strangely alluring. She stayed silent for a few seconds before speaking. I can give you SSS rank status, but on top of that, I'll give you 2 specific things you want. My eyes lit up. This was the best offer yet. I need a cultivation technique that increases my internal yuan energy, I said firmly. And I want a dark element combat skill, grade 5 or higher. These were my biggest priorities. I needed more energy to fuel my lotus, and I needed powerful skills to end fights quickly. Chu Jining hesitated. Her mind was racing. The request was borderline excessive, but she had a feeling I was worth the gamble. She took a deep breath. Fine, I agree. Zhao Tianyan nearly jumped out of his seat. Kyoto Academy is insane. Chu Jining, you're being reckless. Those extra rewards are enough to recruit another S-rank student on their own. He thought she was crazy. Even if I was strong now, the path of martial arts was dangerous. One accident and the investment would be gone. She was betting everything on me. Chu Jining felt the pressure, but she didn't flinch. So what? Zhao Tianyan slumped back into his chair, grumbling. Fine. I want to see how you explain this to your dean. The other scouts sighed and stood up. They knew they couldn't beat that offer. Their authority only went up to SSS rank. They couldn't add extra conditions. Since you've chosen Kyoto Academy, we won't stay, they said, their faces full of regret. Wait, I called out. They stopped and looked back, confused. Are you changing your mind? One asked. I shook my head. No, I just hope you won't look at Luo Qingxue with biased eyes during recruitment. Her father is his own person, and she is herself. The mistakes were Luo Dongshan's, not hers. I remembered how she had tried to apologize and offered me resources. She wasn't like her father. She was just born into the wrong family. The scouts looked at each other and nodded, giving me a look of genuine respect before they walked out. Chu Jining smiled at me. Sign this enrollment application and the SSS contract. Then you're officially one of us. I took the pen and signed my name with a flourish. There you go, Teacher Chu. She took the papers, looking satisfied. Welcome, Su Chun. You are now a member of Kyoto Academy. I'm honored, I replied. Before she could say anything else, her phone buzzed. She answered it, and her face instantly turned grim. A riot in the Devil's Den near Kyoto? Understood. I'm on my way. She hung up and looked at me. Su Chun, an emergency came up at the school. I have to head back immediately. Do you want to come with me to Kyoto now? Give me a few days, I said. I have things to wrap up here. I wasn't just settling affairs. I needed to hunt more beasts and stack my points before I left. Fine. I'll send someone to pick you up in a week, on the day of the martial exam, she said. Your rewards will be waiting for you at the academy. She hurried out of the office. The Devil's Den was no joke. 300 years ago, Yuan energy flooded the earth, mutating animals and opening cracks to other dimensions. These cracks became the 3 great Devil's Dens, home to alien races that constantly tried to break through. They had to be suppressed, or the world would burn. I watched her go, knowing my real journey was just beginning. The emergency at the Devil's Den near Kyoto was serious. It involved the Blood Barbarian Bulls, the second largest alien race occupying the dens. I was confused. It hadn't been that long since the last riot. I wondered if the space-time rift deep underground had sent reinforcements. Teacher Chu, I asked, is it really that urgent? Her face was set in a hard line. The Blood Barbarian Bulls are rioting. I need to get back and organize the students for a purge. I realized I didn't actually know much about these places. Can you explain what the Devil's Dens actually are? Chu Jining gave me a small, tight smile and shook her head. It's a long story. Ask your principal. I have to go now. In 7 days, someone will come for you with your admission notice. Before I could say another word, she vanished, turning into a streak of shadow that blurred out of the office. I turned my gaze toward Wang Donglai. Principal, fill me in, I said. He sighed, looking out the window. 300 years ago, cosmic yuan energy descended on Earth. Animals mutated, and humans awakened abilities. But that wasn't all. Several space-time rifts opened deep underground. Alien races from across the universe used them to invade, forming what we call Devil's Dens. The only reason Earth hasn't been wiped out yet is because those rifts can currently only support aliens up to the 10th order. I nodded. It made sense. But I didn't care about the politics or the history. I only cared about one thing. System. I thought, do I get slaughter points for killing those aliens? The system's voice dinged in my head instantly. Yes, theoretically, Aliens count as both humans and demons. That was all I needed to hear. The dens were packed with enemies, far more dense than the forests outside. But Wang Donglai wasn't finished. The rifts are expanding, he said, his voice dropping an octave. In less than 5 years, they'll be big enough for alien powerhouses beyond the 10th order to step through. When that happens, Earth is finished. We need a super powerhouse, Su Chun. He looked at me with heavy eyes. If no one breaks past the 10th order in 5 years, our world will be destroyed. I tightened my fists. A sense of urgency flared in my chest. 5 years. The fastest anyone in the Dragon Kingdom had reached the 10th order was 18 years. But I had a system. 5 years felt like plenty of time. A super powerhouse will appear, I said firmly. Maybe, Wang Donglai replied, shaking his head. It's easier said than done. No one has managed it in 300 years. He patted my shoulder. Kid, be careful at Kyoto Academy. It's a den of geniuses. Everyone there is a monster. In a small city, you're a legend. In the big city, you're just one of many. He paused, looking at me properly. Though, I have a feeling a freak like you might actually come out on top. I know the drill, I replied with a smirk. Playing it safe is my specialty. But I'm actually looking forward to meeting these geniuses. If I'm going to restore my family's glory, I might as well start by crushing everyone at Kyoto Academy. Good kid, he laughed. I like that spirit. I'll be waiting to see you do great things. I bowed slightly. I'll go get ready then. Goodbye, Principal Wang. He waved me off, a hint of sadness in his eyes. Goodbye. As I walked away, I heard him mutter to himself about how another year of graduation meant another year of goodbyes. As soon as I stepped out of the office, I ran into Shi Yaoyao. She was waiting for me, hands on her hips, looking as arrogant and cute as ever. What are you doing here? I asked. She lifted her chin. I can't be here. Come on, walk with me. We headed downstairs, our footsteps echoing in the quiet hallway. Which academy did you pick? She asked, breaking the silence. Kyoto, I said. What about you? She frowned slightly. I'm going to Kyoto too. At least I'll know someone there. I raised an eyebrow, teasing her. Can you even get in? Their minimum requirement is a B-rank ability. She snapped instantly, her face turning red. Who are you looking down on? I'm an A-rank phantom spirit cat. Getting into Kyoto is easy. Right, I laughed. I forgot. Fine, when we get there, I'll take you under my wing and we'll dominate the place. Humph, more like I'll be the one protecting you, she said, crossing her arms and looking away. We bickered all the way to the school gates. When we got there, I saw Luo Qingxue. She was talking to representatives from other universities. When she finished, she spotted us and walked over. Is that Luo Dongshan's daughter? Shi Yaoyao whispered mockingly. Why isn't she wearing glasses today? Luo Qingxue stopped in front of me. Her eyes lingered on mine for a moment, cold and unreadable. Which academy? She asked. Her voice was like ice. Kyoto, I answered shortly. Shi Yaoyao suddenly jumped in front of me, spreading her arms like a shield. Hey, do I not exist? If you didn't cherish him when you had the chance, stay away from him now. Luo Qingxue looked at Shi Yaoyao, then back at me. She didn't argue. She didn't even react. Goodbye, she whispered, then turned and walked away. Her back looked incredibly lonely. Shi Yaoyao turned to me, her eyes narrowing dangerously. Don't you dare talk to her again, you hear me? Who are you to tell me what to do? I joked. I'm not listening. You have to listen to me. Just stay away from her. She stomped her foot, her face flushed with anger. She clearly hated Luo Qingxue's cold attitude. Fine, I said, holding up my hands. I'll listen to you, Cece. She beamed instantly. That's better. As a reward, I'm taking you out for a massive feast. By the way, you were so cool on the stage earlier. She grabbed my arm, chatting away like a happy bird as she dragged me toward a restaurant. After we ate, I said my goodbyes and went home. I collapsed onto my bed and pulled up my phone. The headlines for Chuan City were exploding. The treacherous Luo family, one read. Luo family becomes social outcasts after betrayal. I stared at the screen with total indifference. Luo Dongshan had brought this on himself. I checked the time and closed my eyes. The biggest weight on my chest had finally been lifted. I needed to sleep. The next 7 days were going to be the golden period for hunting. A week later, The day of the Marshall exam arrived. Thousands of students flocked to the testing centers, their faces masks of tension and hope. This one day would decide their entire lives. A top academy meant endless resources. A poor one meant a life of struggle. It was 10 a.m. when I finally rolled out of bed. I stretched and yawned. Who actually takes the Marshall exam anyway? I muttered. I was exhausted. For the past week, I had spent my days slaughtering beasts in the mountains and my nights pushing my body to the limit with bone-tempering cultivation. But the hard work had paid off. I opened my system interface. 21,400 slaughter points. I almost wanted to cry. I was finally ready. I thought back to that week. It was hell. But today was the day I finally got to spend my points and see what I was really made of. I hadn't used the system to level up for 7 days. Still, my nightly cultivation had pushed me from level 1, stage 6 to stage 7. I had also finished my 4th round of bone tempering. It wasn't a massive gain, but it was better than nothing. System, I thought, calculate the cost. How many points to get from level 1, stage 7 to level 2, stage 1? The voice rang in my head instantly. 800, 1200, 2000, 4000. It would cost 8,000 slaughter points in total. I winced. My heart actually hurt a little. 8,000 points just for 4 stages? The higher I went, the more expensive this was becoming. I was going to run out of points faster than I could earn them. But I needed power. I gritted my teeth and made the call. Do it. Upgrade. A massive surge of energy exploded inside me. I felt my cultivation skyrocket. Stage 8. Stage 9. Stage 10. Then, the barrier broke. Level 2, Stage 1. The exhaustion from a week of hunting vanished in a heartbeat. One-click upgrades were incredible. I wasn't done yet. System, take my 4 combat skills to the great success level. That cost me another 7,400 points. I stared at the balance, stunned. Improving a Tier 3 skill to great success cost 2,500 points on its own. The price was doubling every time. It was staggering. But the power was real. My Ghost Shadow Flash used to only move me a few meters. Now, I could blink dozens of meters in a blur. I was fast enough to be a ghost. My Dark Abyss Altar was more stable with a massive range. My Shadow Claw felt like it could tear through anything. You get what you pay for. I looked at my remaining 5,000 points. I hesitated, then decided to focus on my foundation. System, how much for the 5th round of bone tempering? It was only 500. I was surprised. That was cheap. I figured I should just push it all the way to the 10th round. Level 2 was going to require blood condensation soon, and I didn't want my bones to be a weak link. System, push bone tempering to the 10th round, I commanded. The system pinged back. I didn't have enough points for the full 10. I spent 3,500 points instead, reaching the 9th round. As the notification faded, I felt my skeleton hardening, growing stronger and denser with every passing second. I was ready.